Yo, what's up, guys? How's it going? Hope you're having a very, very good Saturday evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you guys are coming from. Welcome for another episode of the Group Up podcast, which Flats chat has already had a sneak preview access to the backseat, backdoor chat. But yeah, so I'll quickly introduce the premise of the show. Then I'm going to introduce our guests, and then we'll explain the format as well. So obviously, this one is called the Great Save Overwatch Debate. So you guys, I'm sure by now know that Overwatch 2 is delayed, and that's brought some doom and gloom in the community. So I gathered the four henchmen here to try and basically bring some positivity to the scene, try and bring some ideas that we think maybe could tide us over until Overwatch 2 comes out. So let me introduce my guests. First up, beneath me on the screen right now is Freedo. Freedo, how you doing?
Good. I'm glad I'm getting introduced first so I can go grab coffee. You guys know who I am. Been here all the time. Excited to have a good
Sweet,
show. Be right back.
Get that coffee. In the bottom left is Flats. Come on down, Flats. How you doing?
I'm here. I'm existing. I am basically being a magician nowadays, trying to make content out of thin air. So,
I've seen those rabbits you've been pulling out. They're mighty impressive, mighty impressive.
Dude,
And yeah,
some of them, not gonna lie, some of them are fucking out there, but like you know what? Hey, people hated the tutorial video I put out, but hey, like, oh, that video banged. I don't know, dude. People have never seen the training range. I mean, the tutorials range before. Neither had I. So I mean, we're scraping.
We gotta do what we gotta do. And we had a little bit of preview of this talk with my man Samito in the top left. Samito, how you doing?
I'm here. I
Also
little
here and
hungover,
existing.
but we're making content out of thin air, just bourbon to cope, and then it's a rough morning. But we're here. I got some gin done, so I'm chilling.
Nice. So thank you guys for your time and thank you for being here. So the way this one is going to work is, guys, so each of these guys is coming with at least one idea that they think could tangibly improve Overwatch 1 right now or in the immediate future until Overwatch 2 comes out. So we're going to discuss each of those first, and then I want you guys to be active with your ideas as well. So drop any ideas you have in chat. I've got a team of mods sitting behind the scenes. They're going to collect the best ideas, and at the end, we're going to run through those ideas as well and discuss what we feel about them and whether we, think they're good or bad or absolutely dog shit, as Sam will probably say. So, on that note, let's get to the first idea, and I'm gonna start off with.
Can I ask
Flats.
a question before you go?
Oh,
Sorry, I was
yeah,
just a little
go.
confused on the format. So,
Yeah.
What's the struggle for me is that, and I assume for most of us, is that the main focus is towards like we know Overwatch 2 and the scope is supposed to be big, so big that they've delayed it, which means I think they know as well that it's got to feel feature complete at launch, and it just so. For example, there's a lot of things that I would say the game needs, but if it's got to wait till Overwatch 2, like I wasn't clear on the distinction.
Yeah, sorry. So I
apologize.
should clarify. So the ideas should be feasible to implement right now without presumably
How
too
will
much.
we survive? Okay, we're in the desert.
Literally.
A drop
Literally.
package. What would that look like? And so we
What is the care
survive
package?
civilization. Okay.
How much is the minimum
I
water we
understand now.
need to get from here to there without losing it all to sweat, basically?
Yep.
All right. And so on that note, then Flats, what you got for us?
Okay, before I give mine, okay, this needs to be an overall general point because I have a
Set the
feeling there's
scene.
probably going to be people listening. We can't have no balance patches anymore. Like, cut the bullshit with that. Like, okay, like, doesn't have to be what we were promised. We were promised at one point, like 2 years ago, that we were going to get a balance patch every 2 weeks. That happened for about 3 months, and then it was given up on. The last realistic patch we've had was August 9th. It is November 13th.
Wait, was it really August 9th?
Yeah. That was when like Doomfist got changed, Genji got changed.
Oh, that's right. Oh
Like
my
we
had a
God.
fake
had a
one
real
since
like we had
then.
like the Mercy
Yeah.
changes, there was the experimental, but like real balance changes haven't happened since that. And tank changes haven't happened for like June. Something like that. So let's set the precedent there. Okay, that's number one. Like, and that's not an idea. That's just let's
This
turn
is
on
the
brain for a
context.
sec. Yeah, the actual idea. There needs, and I'll explain all the way through this. There needs to be a drop event every month at the least 6 weeks. And I mean, like how the Cassidy event just happened, that drop event. There is no way in hell that could not happen once a month / every 6 weeks. There was very little content in that event. There was a skin, which I wasn't a big fan of, but hey, some people like it, whatever. 3 sprays, which were drops. I think 2 in-game sprays, and then some lore. You're telling me we couldn't get a skin event every 6 weeks? I don't believe it. That was very small. I actually believe that the drop events are amazing. I think that Andy, who's like the new community manager for Blizzard, or one of them, because now there's Jody too, but is actually did a fantastic job with like finding new people, a lot of diversity in it. There was a little hiccup the other day, which I don't know if we want to cover that or not, but that that is a different problem of its own. But regardless, though, that event was small at the best, But what it did, though, is it brought us back to the numbers where we were in January. It didn't bring us back to old Overwatch numbers, but it brought us back to January. You know what January was? For those who don't know, Twitch tracker, it has a lot of stats and stuff like that. Overwatch has shrunk in viewership by 50% since January on Twitch. It used to be around the 23K a month or average for the month. It's now around 9.5 to 10K average a month. So actually almost a little bit more than 50%. This event brought it back up. Now, obviously it's dying down over time, but it's nice to see like ML, Emong, and Jay like all back in the 3s or 4K viewers where they always have been, If you watch daily Overwatch recently, it's kind of like you see them sitting around like the 1.7K, and it's like it's kind of crazy to watch like the biggest streamers on our game have half the viewership that they did 9 months ago. Because any other streamer, one, that's demoralizing, that you're like, oh my god, the ceiling is crashing in. But 2, it gives you a really good idea that that passionate base that actually consumes all the content is decreasing fast, right? So even small events like this do a great job of, 1, keeping the competitive audience having at least like little tiny scraps of the smallest piece of the corner of a piece of bread that was fallen on the ground and rolled under the table 6 weeks ago. The smallest piece, but on the casual side, it gives them a reason to come back and play. They had to play 27 games to get the skin. Great, they get to play arcade, they get to play quick play. Maybe some will play competitive, probably not, but it brings those people back, their viewers, which is good for the streamers. It's good for the content creators, who are legitimately the people that are still keeping interest in the game past the game itself alive. There isn't content flowing. There isn't like any like events that happen. There's nothing to talk about other than people that make the content every single day right now. And even on the competitive side, like they have tons of problems, and I think that's the scariest point is when people stop complaining. Not because they don't think it's good, but because there's no point. There's like, you have the point of like, everything's great, everyone's complimenting, everything's great, but there's something that could be fixed. Everything's dog shit and they're complaining about it. Silence. That's when we're in trouble, is when stuff gets silent. So if we're going to keep things as small as it is and keep things, and we're not going to get big pieces of content, I don't think we're going to get any maps. I don't think we're going to get any heroes. That stuff's not on the table. At least take a little bit of time, outsource it, have somebody make a skin every week or every month, start a drop event. It brings back casuals. It gives a tiny scrap to to competitive players, and it helps out your content creators a ton, because we're all scared. That is probably the least amount of effort and the least amount of lift that could happen to really carry us for the next year. That's my idea.
That is Flats' presentation. I'm gonna take it to either Freedo, Samito. Either you guys want to feedback immediately on the idea?
Yeah, I would like to strongly devil's advocate this position.
Good, because otherwise I would be doing it too. So go ahead.
Okay, all right, you can help me out on it then as well. Okay, so I would take a step back, because the way I'm feeling right now is we're in a recession, and we're almost at like the discussion table of who we're going to bail out. It's like, there's pandemonium in the streets. There's just people that are hungry. Cruise liners are losing their jobs. Why don't we just send tons of money towards that? Wait, that sounds so like a parody. That could never happen, right? That would be the first people you'd. Sorry, I'm a little bitter about that still. Anyway, sorry. Look it up if you know what I'm talking about. It's nonsense. But okay. So there's limited resources and a lot of people with their hands out saying we need something. Trying to get from Blizzard's point of view, I think they probably like agree with almost everything you say and just feel like they're at the capacity that they either can or want to produce these. Let's like try to package the idea right a little bit. Like we want smaller, discrete, more rapid cosmetic content that you play for and interact with the game with, like just more frequently. Like that's what it is, like in a nutshell. I think they probably would say that they already feel like they are doing that. Now it's not to the rate that you're saying, that's the major change you're saying, but they already outsource the skins. They already are making, I mean, I'm sorry, no offense. I'm not some of these skins are pretty nice. The gray McCree skin with the rename, like it's just not really doing it for me. So like I think like when there's something that feels like there's thought put into it, because that's I'm going to argue for both sides of the fence here. I think Blizzard often defends how long they take to do things because of how much tender loving care with every little thing, right? Like heroes in other games or characters in other games kind of get churned out because it's like, oh, we'll just take a piece of that, mash it together, and here's the new guy. Like he's just the guy, and he has lore and whatever. We don't care. Blizzard's not like that. They want everything to feel interconnected to the universe. So that's why they take extra time to like go through all the checks to make sure it's perfect to them, which also makes the development process longer and why Overwatch 2 is getting delayed. But so what you're saying is kind of like ramp that up, and I agree, but they might like, in order for them to pass all those checks, it's like, you know, they want McCree's name to be changed. So that's probably why that got delayed. I mean, they already said that, for example. They went off and redid all the voice lines for the, I always say McCree. Like I've been talking about this game for 5 years. I don't know when I'm going to stop. Cassidy is his new name, but I'm struggling to remember it. I'm not even getting into that whole situation. But they would have diverted. We're talking about, you know, resources, cruise liners. Okay, we're talking about redistributing resources. That's where it went, basically. Like whatever they had, whatever bandwidth they had, it was like, we got to get this done first. And then we get kind of a mess skin that it like, so let's think of what like a peak skin would be. A skin that like references other Blizzard games or references other things in the lore. Like, you know, it's kind of cute when even though like the Diva skin might not be that big of a deal, but you know, it feels like it's core to her character. That was I think they saved those for BlizzCon. What am I talking about? No, those are premium price. Why would I even suggest that? That's a huge paywall. But the free ones, you know, they feel like cute and connected to the game, and this one's trying to be, and a lot of them I think hit a little bit of a higher watermark with that. But anyway, so my TLDR is they are probably production wise, like if we think of it away from the needs point of view and from the production point of view, how much resources should they take from Overwatch 2 to do that, and when they're already outsourcing a lot of that? Like I just don't know if there's a switch for them to flip necessarily. It's been flipped. Right. The panic button has been set, and this is what we have. It's not good. Yeah. So I feel a little pessimistic, unfortunately, with that. If this truly is the best they can do. So that's my little spiel. Let someone else talk now.
So you want to relay to that first? Yeah.
Yeah. So with the whole outsourcing thing, right? So if they are outsourcing it, as somebody who, you know, my entire YouTube is run by my editor or my channel manager Retro and 2 editors for both my channels. Well, 3 now, I guess, but that's not the point. The point is, though, is with the whole outsourcing thing, the problem isn't necessarily anymore whether or not they can like flip the switch. The switch has already been flipped, as you said. It depends on if they're going to outsource even more. Like, do they? I mean, they have a team, and you know, and I mean, I think Sam knows. Didn't that guy like tweet you or DM you something that like they're not using him anymore? The guy who made all the cool Halloween skins. So there are people that they have contact with that they could outsource more to. Obviously, that comes at a cost, but and you know, this is me thinking, I guess, business wise here, is I feel like the return that cost would bring would be exponentially better than not doing it at all. It's the same thing as like, for me personally, I mean, like, you know, this has been a topic I've had in my chat in the last week, is like my second channel operates at a loss, right? I pay more for editing than the channel makes. Yeah, that sucks. But in the long term, though, people have started to resonate with variety more. You know, people that get annoyed that, you know, I release some casual content on my main channel, whether it's like spectating bronzes, guess my SR, playing the tutorial again, whatever it is, and they get annoyed and they want their gameplay content, it's actually on the other one, right? So they still end up getting what they want, and it satisfies people over time. It's more of an investment thing. It's something that long term has actually, it's gone from like a huge negative to like not that much anymore. And at some point it will turn into a positive, which is a good thing. So what I think here is if they're already outsourcing it, is there an ability to up how much is being outsourced on that end? Obviously, some of that Blizzard part has to be done with like, connecting the drops to Twitch and, whatever registry comes along with that, finding the streamers for the event, etc. But honestly, a lot of that, I don't know about the Twitch part, but the finding streamers and like asking them to be a part of the event, I don't think is that difficult. Yes. Now, building a very diverse, comprehensive list and taking a lot of time into consideration with that, of course, is extra work. And I think they've expressed that recently. It does take more time, which is good because they did a good thing with it. However, though, I don't like in my mind, I don't think that the amount of work required of that extra outsourcing is that much of a difference on what they have, because they're going to outsource it anyways. It's more price, and it's like, is getting skins designed and sprays designed actually like that expensive, especially for a game that's a AAA title? I don't know. Like, I feel like it's still like low lift. You know what I mean? Like, it still doesn't require like that much funding for it. Like, it's still like obviously going to cost more, but I feel like the return end is going to be so much bigger that it's worth the investment, or at least giving it a shot. You know. But I don't disagree though. They definitely don't want to take any more resources away from what they're currently doing, and that's probably why the cast event took so long. Is doing all the voice lines and stuff like that. But like, what was actually there though was not that impressive. But if we could replicate that over and over and over and make it like a quick turnaround thing, it could then be very impactful. It's kind of like quantity. I don't want to say quantity over quality. I want to say like it's more of like quantity over uh how much is put into it. It's almost like speed over how much is in the package, I guess. If they're only going to be small things anyways, then make them quick so that they're rapid fire and it's constantly bringing people back in, constantly attention, instead of like one big slow event, which honestly isn't hitting that hard anyways. I mean, if you go look at the numbers on Twitch right now, it's already dropped quite a bit since the first day a couple days ago, which happens, but it's
Yeah, but you're hoping it would long term, it would just keep
you would
jumping up,
hope
jumping
it gets
up.
closer to the 2 weeks, not like 3 days, 4 days.
So I want to take this to Sam, because I know Sam hasn't said anything for a while. So Sam, what you feel in all this?
I lie. He's right. I think that it would definitely help for me. I'm not too invested in drops because I don't get them. But I mean, it feels bad.
Oh yeah, you're
Twitch,
YouTube. He's YouTube.
Yeah,
primarily.
YouTube. Yeah, mostly. I only stream on Twitch when I want to practice and just like listen to music and
Oh,
chill.
I see you recently. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I just like whenever I'm trying to. Well, I was trying to get back in peak form for when Overwatch 2 comes out in the spring, but guess I jumped the gun a little bit. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I agree with that because you like we're in the age of the streamer, and the more stuff that you make to enable your streamers who are your advertisers, and you treat them like assets because that's what the most successful IPs of all time do. I wouldn't say Blizzard is well. They certainly are not in the better half in terms of companies that work with content creators. I've seen, on the front end, and as we all know, privately, the back end too. Although the community managers have always been great. I personally don't know Andy.
Big W.
But I've heard good things for the most part. And as well as Jay Nash was super nice. Molly was super nice. They always kick ass. They do a great job. But it's just, for me personally, if I had to choose one thing, I wouldn't do that because it's not a gimmick, but it's like it's a boost to viewership, but I don't know if authentic isn't the right word. I want my players to come back because my game experience is that good. Like that's another while that is a good idea and that needs to happen, I wouldn't put that at number one because it starts at the foundation, right? What's tough about this podcast right now is the best way to fix Overwatch in the long term permanently. It's not like a snap your fingers do one thing.
No.
It's a multi-step thing. So like it's hard. while that would be good personally, that's not going to be my answer. As I'll talk about my match. Actually, I think I'm going to throw you guys a curveball if it's going to be just one big thing. But no, I like the idea. I think that it definitely needs to happen. It's just I wouldn't have that at number one. I'd probably have that like number two or number three on
Yeah.
my list. But it's still a very good idea. It's on the chain of things that would need to come through to really help this game stop struggling and really just help out streamers who are the biggest assets, and they are your advertisers. Players will go where their streamers play. That happens. Look at what happened to Among Us. Living proof of that, right? Literally, game has been out for 3 years, and all of a sudden, all the streamers are playing it. And then look, we're just what does freaking Jay want? Hold on, this freaking he just messaged me. Yo, are you at your computer? What a freaking idiot! Oh my god,
This is probably already having a bad
So-
day. He wants to play something else.
He
What
wants
is this
to
kid
join the
doing?
call and cry again for a little
Yeah,
bit.
what's
No,
up? Yeah, but
so
no,
Sam
it's
brings
a
up.
good
Yeah, go ahead,
idea.
Sam. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. Just good idea, but I'd have that number 2 or 3 on my list personally.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say Sam brings up a couple of very good points, and that leads me to a question I was gonna ask Flats anyways. Because the thing is, a lot of times when we talk about ideas like this, when we say, because we are obviously content creators, and when we talk, hey, how what are these ideas that can help content creators? People often accuse us of like bias, right? Like, oh well,
Yeah.
you're saying it because it benefits you, it makes you money, but does it help the game? So what would you say answer to someone who says that, Flats? Like someone who says, well, will it actually help the game and the players though?
Well, let's talk about what we can do with the game versus the players, right? You're not getting new maps. It's not happening. You're not getting new heroes. It's not happening. Those are the number one and number two that players want. All of them. Casuals, competitive, Overwatch, whatever you like, top level to bottom level. That's what they want. Those aren't going to happen. No matter what. It's not on the table. So for me, I kind of look at it this way. We're currently at nothing, right? We're currently at nothing. We're struggling. We're landsliding, and I actually had a conversation with Andy yesterday, and I talked about why the streamer drop thing with the launcher mistake looks so bad is because currently Overwatch is landsliding, and it's like when you're tumbling down a hill, you can't just immediately stop yourself. You have to start like grabbing onto a branch or a rock or putting your foot a certain way and stopping the slide, because currently we're fully sliding down. And every time another big mistake happens, it looks like, oh, well, Blizzard fucked up again. Here it goes. Like another mistake, another mishap, whatever it is. The point is being on that. The way we need to stop this is everybody has to be kind of like together, right? We are not going to get any big events. The only events we have been currently getting are the reused holiday events and the occasional drops. Well, we can't make more fucking holidays, so we made more drop events. Like, you tell me what other option we have if those are the only two things we're getting. Yeah, it does benefit me. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. But the whole point is those are the only events we get anyways. So if those are the ones that we have to work with, that's why it's choosing that for an option. If there's something else that we could get, by all means, sure. But don't forget, though, we're players too. If we do well, more streamers stream the game. For example, whenever XQC comes back to Overwatch, that the game just explodes for like the night. Whenever he sneaks in, always happens. Whenever streamers follow the game does better. Apex Legends is a great example. Apex, their creators have held them accountable on a lot of things. On balance, when Seer got released and was broken, most busted hero of all time, people were saying, is this the Brig of Apex? Because it came out in season 10. Brig came out in season 10. But guess what happened? They nerfed him in the ground in 2 weeks. They gave him I swear, this is my conspiracy, is they had a patch ready to go when he got released. So he was still fun and strong. And then after a week, boom, put him where they think he's supposed to be. It wasn't enough. They realized it wasn't enough. And another week later, boom, another big patch and put him down. Just that was it. Like, was not going to let this guy ruin their game. Who held him accountable? Content creators, pro players. Because here's the thing. You may not believe me, but I've noticed this, especially with the opportunity I had to build a balance patch and some fun stuff with Blizzard, which I'm excited for that, whenever that gets to be like more talked about. I haven't been able to. All I was allowed to do was talk about with my ideas with chat and get feedback on them. So there's some cool stuff that's being worked on. But the thing I've learned from this is there's too many cooks in the kitchen if everybody's screaming at once. And same thing happens in chat is if everybody's yelling their ideas, it doesn't work. What works better is when there's a smaller group that take the outside consideration and channel them into one voice. That's what the benefits of having streamers holding the game accountable, as well as pro players holding the game accountable, does, because that's a person, a one tangible person, or a collective small group of tangible people that can have that dialogue and either get the feedback back from the team and be like, hey, the reason we can't do this is XYZ, or the reason we haven't been doing that is XYZ. And you can have that conversation instead of that team just yelling into the void of thousands of people that are screaming back. Like, because that thousands of people screaming back is almost impossible to listen to. Like, there's so many voices at once. So having your content creators do well is a big thing already. Most games have figured that out. And what I mean by choosing this one drop event over anything else, yes, it would benefit me. Yes, it would benefit other streamers, but we don't have any other really options on the table at the moment. So that's why I've chose this more than anything. If you got something else, sure, but I don't think that we can go and propose something at this point. So, yeah, obviously we'll do well from it, but it's not just us. It's the same way it's been doing, just increasing the frequency.
So to try and summarize, Flats, and you tell me if you agree with this or not, you're kind of saying that right now we don't have our options are very limited. We're not getting any substantial content, and content creators are kind of the biggest crutch we can rely on. So empower them, and they will in turn act as kind of voices of the community and go the kind of the bridge between the devs and the community, right? So they'll reinvigorate the community and then give that feedback back to the devs. Is that a fair summary?
I wouldn't say the word reinvigorate. I'd say they'd hold on to what's left,
Okay.
and like keep them. Like, it's like sand, you know. The more hands you have around the sand, like less will slip out, but like it's still gonna slip out, you know. Like,
I'm loving the metaphors today, but I'm a little bit concerned they're all like jungle peril themed. I'm not sure what Flats has been up to recently, but okay.
it's been a weird week.
It's been a weird one. Okay, well, either Samito or Freedo, do you guys anything else to say on that idea? Anything else you want to feedback more on?
Yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
Go ahead. No, you go. You're good.
Well, I had two routes I think I could go. One to the streamer point of view, and then the other is to balance, especially it being an issue when we know Overwatch 2 is coming. It's a different format. So I'll do the first one first about streamers. Whenever we're talking to Flats, it's nice because we get like a boots on the ground Twitch streamer. A lot of our friends don't stream on Twitch. SVB does, I guess, but our little group, we're mostly on. We bias towards YouTube a little more, I guess. And there's a term I want to pick out of your speech from like 10 minutes ago that you said that when we do have a drop like this, there's exponential viewership growth. And the trouble with that being a term is that if people don't know, exponential is when a number's multiplied on itself. So like if we're triple views now as to January or vice, whatever it was that Flat says, triple views now, that's a good thing. But I think from Blizzard's point of view, you're because it's a multiplier. If you're multiplying a low number, it's not as impressive as when you multiply a high number. So when you look at the big graph of like Overwatch at I'm trying to see my hands for what the viewer sees. This is
you're good. You're good.
Screen, right? Okay. Say Overwatch at launch 2016. Breaking record. It's at the top of my camera. This might even be cropped. I don't know. I don't know where SVB is.
No, you're there. Okay? You're there.
This is interest level of 2016 here. Okay, and then we've got all the years going by, and it's going to go down and down. Like Sam always shows these types of graphs.
Yeah,
right?
Child pulling it up right now. Yeah.
Now we're like,
send me the link.
Here.
I was literally pulling that up.
Right. Okay, we're here. And the Flats is like zooming into this section of the graph. And he's like, well, January or like 1 month was like this. And this month is 3 times that. Oh, look at that. Look, it's 3 times. You see what I'm saying? So from their point of view, I'm trolling you a little bit in order to get to the heart of the matter, which is our game's not free to play. Our game's not free to play. So they don't really gain anything out of any of that. And I think we've already talked about this subject so much that I try not to regurgitate these points, because you can see the last episode that we're all on again to discuss that if you want our thoughts on free to play. But I I think the positive feedback loop we see in other games are expressly because it is free to play. So that constant stream of consumers is important to the business model and is the major upside, especially from a creator's point of view, that all of the things Flat said is because it's free to play. And as far as I know, Apex is pretty well received right now, and the devs have to keep putting stuff into it. Overwatch is a completely different perspective. So anything that they do for this game is resources that could be spent towards the next game where the real stuff is going to happen, which makes me wonder, and I don't mean to Gordian knot the entire conversation here, but to what level is it a good decision for Blizzard to just cut ties to this game altogether and do even less? Because they're barely doing anything now. Like I almost feel like that's already been their strategy, right? Because they're saying, if our new game either needs the sequel or a new business model, then we might as well focus towards that. I don't think they're gaining anything out of skins monthly or even Twitch viewers. Even if it was like 50,000 Twitch viewers again, do they gain literally anything from that? Like you could say players, but like anybody anyone in that probably has already bought the game. It's sold so much that most people own it, I feel like, and the game goes on discount, and I don't hear them talking about breaking sales records anytime soon. I don't know. I haven't heard from the earnings report that our Overwatch loot boxes popping off. I don't think so, right? So like if all these revenue streams have dried up for them, they would need an order of magnitude. There's another math term for you. An order of magnitude more like interest. It would have to be like, I don't know, 10, like maybe even more, like somewhere between like 10 and 50 XQCs in this game to be like, well, here's all the people who didn't buy the game yet to come buy it. So I guess I'm saying we're screwed. We're screwed until it goes free to play. I don't have a better answer than that, because if they don't see the incentive for them to do it, I don't see them investing in this first game. And then the second point, of course, was all the balance considerations. I get a little funny with this because although I like the game being tuned, what's it getting tuned for? We already know it's going to 5v5. So I guess maybe we'll just jump to what my suggestion is. Can we just get this Band-Aid off already?
Yeah, all right, go on, Freedo, drop it.
I didn't come here with a planned suggestion.
Wait, Samito, do you have something you want to quickly interject with?
5v5. That'll be my point. We can get to that.
You want to go 5v5 right now?
Screw it. Who cares? Who cares? The game's it's doing that. If it doesn't work, they can change it back. Whatever. Like
it would be better to test this now. Actually, you're right. Hold on. I think you're onto something.
Actually, onto something. Hold on.
This man is onto something.
Can I chime in on that, Freedo, real quick before you go on a point? Is that okay?
I'm done. I'll just let the floor. There we go. That's my.
He's gonna sip his tea now.
I haven't really talked about this too much, but I think it's safe to say that this entire community is incredibly concerned that 5v5 is going to be dog shit.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Bingo board.
I think I've said that.
I wasn't gonna say it, but that's just for you, SPB. But yeah, no, we talked about this a while ago. Like we have to test it. At this point, SPB pulled up that graph.
I'll put it up again.
Which is one of the worst charts I've seen. That's bad, boys. That's 5 straight
Can you explain?
years
Can you explain what this is to the viewers?
So this chart is.
Yeah.
It's in chat too, Flats. This chart is Google Trends, and it's the term Overwatch. So what that'll tell you is how interested the world is in Overwatch based off search results, and on the internet, especially in the gaming industry. Like that's very important, right? Because the more people that are searching your game, it's a great way to gauge interest in the game. Overwatch is the only chart you can compare it to other titles too. It is the only game of the major games that have come out in the last 5 or 6 years that has not been able to beat its previous year's peak once. Not a single time, which this just goes to show really, really poor management and really, really poor execution, because we are, even in peak COVID, the only major title, the first shooter to win Game of the Year in 15 years, to not have a better year than the previous year for 5 or 6 straight years. And now you can't go up every year. It's not a problem, right? No one's perfect. You can't, growth stops at some point. But to not go up once in 5 or 6 years, that tells you that the top level management is not doing this right. Their order of priorities are wrong. So honestly, Freedo, we have nothing to lose. I would rather try 5v5 now and see if it's okay, see if it's good, than wait for Overwatch 2 to come out and have them look. I don't think any of us enjoy coming on here and being like, oh, Blizzard, they're messing this up. Like, no one enjoys that. I would rather say, I want to say congratulations to my friends rather than I'm sorry or like it's tough. You know, like who wouldn't want to do that? I am so looking forward to the day where I can come on here and be honest and say I am so thrilled with how good Blizzard's done. I am foaming at the mouth for the day for that to happen because I love this game. You guys love this game. We all want to see it, but this is terrible, and I honestly think that might not be a bad idea. Like Freedo, what's the harm in a 1 week being like, yo, like we're gonna put this current game. This actually was gonna be my point too. Is like stuff like this. Like we can't create more content. So why don't we just look for efficient ways to spice up the game and just use what's already there, right? Like 5v5 would not be hard to do. You wouldn't have to really change the matchmaker. You just have to remove a player. I'm sure that's not too difficult, right? I mean, I'm sure in the code, like there's not some crazy thing to do. Why not? You're not doing freaking jack shit anyway. Pardon my French, but screw it and do it. Screw it and do it. That's my old saying in diving, just to get over the fear of trying a new dive or doing like a front double or triple or something. I don't even know. Screw it and do it. So Blizzard, screw it and do it. Why not? Let's spice things up. Do it for a week. You know, I was thinking my idea was aside. I'll talk about Brig in a bit, but.
Well, we'll get to your idea. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. We'll get to your idea.
Yeah.
Unless you want to drop it now.
Yeah, if you guys talk about Freedo's point first. I'm
let's save the juice. Save the juice. So I want to quickly devil's advocate a little bit because obviously now that Freedo's the one giving the point, I have to take over devil's advocate responsibilities. So, and then I want to hear Flats' opinion on this as well. So let's say from the Blizzard POV, they might say, okay, Freedo, sure, you might say, what do we have to lose? But is the change to 5v5 not one of the big selling points of Overwatch 2, that alongside the big package is what will convince people to buy the game? And if you give people 5v5 now, then all that's left is the PvE, and they'll say, well, will people buy it just for the PvE? And there goes the money chain again. So what do you think?
Well, yeah. Here's the problem.
PvP should be free to play anyways, though.
That's true. Although we haven't really, I want to mention that we haven't really heard them reiterate that point since they made it at the first BlizzCon. But
it's gonna happen. 100%. There's no way it doesn't. It
has to happen, right? I mean, well, we say there's no way. Go ahead, Freedo. Sorry, but it's Blizzard. We don't know.
Yes, they have two competing ideologies here, and we actually don't know how they currently feel about anything because they don't really talk. They don't really explain things. They just give you like a window through another window of a whisper of someone that said something once. It's a distorted image of what they're even thinking about doing, and maybe we'll do a thing. Like, so it's hard to know what they actually stand firm with, especially when there's been so much leadership change. So I think we are sitting here with the information we're assuming that they have said, but I mean, they promised Warcraft 3 Reforged would have all these certain things that it came out different.
Like cutscenes or whatever, and then it never was. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if things have changed. I think leadership change indicates that maybe they have got some bad news or good news. Who knows what is different? But so let me try to chart the dichotomy here that they're dealing with internally with this. On one hand, Activision Blizzard does a boxed product model that they like to call. You may be familiar with this with a very successful game called Call of Duty with Activision that comes out every year. They have 3 different dev studios out and they just keep churning out. So this is more like what Flats is saying, is like, just get it out there. Who cares? It's like, we'll play it for a few months. We'll enjoy it. And overall, though the COD community will tell you something different, it's lived for, I don't know, what is it, 100 years? Like, it's been out forever, and they've been doing that for a long time. And people hop off the train, hop back on the train, and people, they like that rate of content overall. It diminishes the quality and the shine for sure, but that works for them. But they normally didn't give stuff for free. Any DLC, extra packages, map packs. They had a whole streamline of content for COD throughout its life cycle. But then they got this Warzone thing that they took a punt on, kind of. Their first Battle Royale Blackout was kind of a failure.
Yeah,
and they're like, let's try this again. They made Warzone. All of a sudden, it's making all this money. They're like, oh yeah, free to play, COD Mobile. So they also understand free to play as well. And those are the two things. Okay, that's the context of Activision Publishing over there. Blizzard has a guy like Jeff Kaplan come out on stage and, looking back at it now, says what I think was the headlines he was hoping to read reviewing his let me explain what I mean. He said, we're going to redefine the sequel. What does that mean? But redefine it. You know, like a really good headline that I'm reading about myself, like that. No offense, Jeff, but looking back, that's kind of how it sounds. Because if you want people to say redefine the sequel, you'll just say how much great value the game is. Like, say what it actually is, and then we'll be like, oh yeah, that's a whole new thing. You're redefining the sequel. That's the thing I should say about you, not that you say about you, because I don't know what it even does yet. You got something, Sam?
No, you're just completely right. It's just it's the same thing with Blizzard, where it's just low. It's all image. It's like they focus on the wrapper of the candy, not the candy bar. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm getting to a point. All this will come together, I promise. So in that redefine the sequel thing, they're saying we will update Overwatch 1 with Overwatch 2. But here's the problem, Blizzard. Free-to-play games already exist and get live updates now. So what is the benefit to the consumer for me to wait for the next box product? I understand that you normally do COD, and if you get the update, you got to buy the new game, and it sucks that you have to buy the next Space Marine to play Space Marine 2 with your friends, and we're going to redefine that. Who asked for that? We just have free-to-play games we all can play now. That is not a big selling point. What's a big selling point is here's all the improvements that come along with this other game we made that is awesome, that is going to sell a lot of copies, and we funded it in a really fair way. Isn't that great? It's like, I think that I sound like I'm angry, because I kind of am, but their messaging is just so bad on this. Like, I think they truly wanted to do a good thing, but their perspective on things. Listen, we've had a lot of communication with them back and forth. Okay, this isn't the first time that they seem completely clueless why their perspective doesn't land with anybody. Like that's not acceptable. Okay, like who did you screen? What creator did you like put this past to see if that's a good idea to that's going to resonate and get people applauding and like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so calming down for a second, I do have a point in here somewhere. They have to decide. They have to decide whether they're merging the games together, and if they are, it's got to go free to play, basically, because otherwise you're just holding updates hostage until you finish the rest of it. And we know you know this strategy because you have Warzone already. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, it feels you are starving us so that we can pay for the things later. It's like, but that's not redefining it. You redefined it to be something that's bad. That's what you did.
Yeah.
You redefined it to be like a new way to fail. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
I can't. I've so much emotion has just raged through me here that I don't know if I've finalized my point. The point is, they it doesn't seem like a benefit yet to us, and I want all those updates to come, but like if you're not going to give them now, like I don't know, whatever. I've lost the plot. Go ahead, Flats.
Well, yeah.
You want it for 1 or 2 free to play?
Okay, so here's the reason why I argue free to play seems to make like what's the alternative to free to play?
Well, I'm with you on free to play, but I mean, like, you want Overwatch 2 free to play or like current Overwatch free to play?
Well, hold on one sec. Those again, redefine the sequel. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like so. This is what they had said at BlizzCon years ago, that the updates to PvP would come to current Overwatch players for free anyway. So you wouldn't even have to buy Overwatch 2. That is good in a way. That's like really fair. But what are they doing with the sticker price of the already, what is it? Because it's like I see it $15 all the time. They're barely selling it now. Right? They're barely selling it now. It's $20 now. So I feel like they're jumping over backwards to try to do some like super fair business model when there's like people paying $300 for Valorant skins and happy as a clam. Like I don't get it. I actually don't get it. It's like, make your game good.
I think I understand what you're saying, actually.
I'm ranting myself to oblivion here.
No, it is honestly great.
My problem was, how could they not make it free to play if all the Overwatch 2 stuff comes free anyway? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Their leadership doesn't know what they're
doing. Well, yeah, it's like if we sold 50,
doing.
60 million copies, how many new people are going to buy Overwatch 2 just, if they can already access Overwatch 2 PvP with the copy they already owned?
like, okay, let me go back to the box model approach. Okay, so there's a struggle with terminology here. When a new COD comes out, often it's a different dev team on a different engine, and a lot of people have different preferences on. I like Treyarchs. I like this. This one plays a little faster. This one has better time to kill. These guns do this. They have zombies. Whatever. Like it's a different flavor of developer on a different engine. Often a different engine. Okay, you know what I mean. It's
Yeah.
slightly different. It's like specialized to them. Whatever that means. Okay. With Overwatch, we all know it's one live service game. So where's that distinction? And I suppose when I say try out 5v5, really what I mean is if we're going to have beta, like and this it gets to a larger point, if Overwatch 2 5v Overwatch, I try to say this, Flats, that I think hopefully helps my terminology here. Overwatch 2, what we should say really is Overwatch 2 is the PvE game, and the updates should be Overwatch 2.0, Overwatch PvP 2.0. So I'll try to say that from now on. When I mean 2.0, what I mean to say is 5v5, all the tank reworks, push new game mode, and all the other updates that we expect. Scoreboard, different
Heroes.
modes, like
Mhm.
more all the new hero, all the new content, like lots and lots of stuff should be in that, is the point. If they're beta testing that early next year, why not start to integrate it earlier? I guess is my point. Like, you're not sealing it off on the next game anyway. So you see my point? Like
Yeah.
any changes you see, you know, or like they've shown us not much so far, but there's a lot more that we're expecting. Any changes that they're starting to show you in Overwatch League next year, what's the benefit of waiting till the PvE Overwatch 2 releases if all that stuff is coming in a drop when that game's out? Like, I just don't understand why there has to be such a gated cutoff. And this is where I get to you redefine the sequel to mean something bad. No other game does this. Like, it's just like, it's a live game. Here's a new thing. Maybe we'll beta test it. Now it's out. Like, that's it. That's it. There's no complicated extra steps in order to get there. And your expectations are set immediately. So they really screwed themselves with this redefine the sequel thing, because everyone understands, you know, the COD has a game, it's a thing, you play it there, and then there's there's Warzone. We understand those are two different things. It feels like you have a Warzone, and we're actually, well, why are you not updating it till 10 years from now? Okay.
Well,
I hope
I want to
made any
quickly.
sense in there whatsoever.
No, you're right.
I mean, yeah, I think it was beautiful, and I think all of us already, I can tell, really agree. And I personally am like, I think that was poetry in motion. But I do want to have to devil's advocate. I do want to try and present something for perhaps a reasoning. And again, like I said, although I said, you know, well, they're trying to incentivize people to buy it, and you know, the counterpoint is, well, it's not, you don't have to buy it anyways. Maybe what they're saying is, well, would people be hyped if it was just PvE that we release at the end? Can we propel the changes that come with the care package that comes with Overwatch 2 to convince people to simultaneously buy the PvE as well? Because let's say they give us 5v5 now, and we get a sort of medium-term boost. Again, keeping that big graph in mind that we have on screen. Maybe we get a medium-term boost and we end up a little bit closer to the peak. But if we don't end up at the peak, then kind of the whole thing falls apart, perhaps, right? The whole Overwatch 2 idea falls apart, because if this doesn't get us back to the top, all of it was for nothing. We just blew our own game up for nothing. So are they saying what we want to do is actually, it's not even about we're going to give you the content anyways. It's about creating one moment of hype that everyone's like, Overwatch 2 out now. 5v5, PvE, everything, go, buy. And that propels us back to a new height. Is that the thinking?
You want the big hit. That's what it is.
And I'm going to take it to Flats now.
That is it. Yeah.
Yeah, they want to. You go ahead. You go.
You for your thing, which you're right about, they'd have to do the game right. Like, if the game sucked as they were doing the 2.0 and developing it and updating it, it wouldn't go anywhere. Yeah, like they'd have to be like Apex. Like, Apex sucked, and then they worked on the game hard over time, and it brought the game back to life. And now it's considered, actually, I think it's past Fortnite and Warzone. Actually, I saw something the other day that it's now the #1 game on Twitch, the #1 battle royale. That's the problem, though, is do they even trust themselves to build the game from the bottom up instead of having a massive boom at the top and then fall over time? I think they'd rather have a big boom and then fall over time than start from the bottom and build it back up, you know?
I
Sam,
think it
what
just
do you
means
think?
we're screwed then,
Okay.
unfortunately. Go ahead, Sam.
We're screwed.
Hey guys, SVB here. Just gonna quickly interrupt this episode of the Group Up podcast to say that if you're enjoying this content, then please do consider signing up for my Patreon to support me directly. It's really amazing because it allows me to keep making content like this carefree, regardless of how many views Overwatch does or doesn't get. I know no one likes sellout ads, but chances are if you've listened till this far in, then you're at least somewhat enjoying the content. So please do consider at least leaving a like, subscribe, and a comment underneath the video on YouTube. It really does help. But that's it for me. Now back to the discussion.
I think what Blizzard needs to understand is that Flat said they're going for the big hit. So in terms of baseball terms, do you want to know what wins you baseball games and makes your team good? Getting on base, not swinging for the fence every at bat. What they're doing right now is stupid. Moneyball, one of the greatest storylines of all time, by the way. If you haven't seen Moneyball, go read it. One of the most fascinating, really cool sports stories ever. Awesome, loved it. But look, it's the model right now is silly and it is terrible and it is bad. I think Freedo hit the nail on the head. It makes no sense to put a chokehold on this IP. Like first of all, let's talk about it. Overwatch 2, did it need to happen? Realistically, no. Could it work? Absolutely. So I'm not trying to shit on the whole idea of Overwatch 2. I think it can work. But in what universe is it a good idea for your business model to be, let's effectively stop doing anything for our current product and we're just going to wait and hold out? You think your average gamer out there is going to respect that decision and give you the time of day? My biggest problem with Blizzard is that they have completely lost touch with modern day gamers. This leadership team lives in 2008, back when you could get away with shit like that. They don't understand modern day gaming and what it takes to be at the top. And that chart tells me that, right? That chart, a 5-6 straight down year straight plummet, that tells you that they don't understand their consumers. They don't understand anything about the experience of gaming nowadays. And they're making no effort to get those players back. So when you go to this model, kind of like Freedo said, like it doesn't make sense that this stuff needs to wait. It doesn't. And like you can't have a healthy, thriving product and you can't gain the respect, because here's the reality of what gamers are nowadays. When we were younger, like maybe 10 years ago, I would say there were guys our age that were gaming, right? But not nearly as much, right? But now that people are older,
guys, so.
yeah, okay. All right, Uncle Freedo, Uncle Freedo, okay. But
The
no,
average age has increased, basically, is what you're
the
saying.
average age has increased. These people have jobs. They work hard. They want to come home and they want to spend times with their friends. Like it's like that for my friend group, right? Like all my buddies moved to, one moved to Pittsburgh and one's moving somewhere else, and they were working and we barely have time to play together anymore. And they all quit Overwatch a while ago because they were just like, dude, like the experience sucks. Ranked is shit. No one wants to try together. The experience is bad. We have a limited, we have a limited time to play together. I'm sorry, this is just not worth me sinking my time into because I have limited time and I come home from work stressed out already. Like I want to feel like I'm progressive with something, and like that's the number one thing that I think that leadership needs to really look at. It's you guys have just lost complete and utter touch with everyone. You're in your little Southern California bubble. You don't know shit about what people that across the world want, about their experience, anything. And if you want to make a difference, you got to start opening up and listening, because I watched every single content creator and their mother from the day this game came out tell you directly that they were thrilled with how good the game experience was in October. That we were all so damn proud of you. And the first thing you do is take that and shove it straight down the goddamn toilet. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? How dare you?
Cry.
How fucking dare you? I'm sorry, man. I've tried to hold my emotions in about this shit for years. I have been one of the loudest people about it, and I got my ass crucified for that. Just for you guys to take everyone's effort, everyone's time, the Overwatch League's time, your players' time, and you throw it straight down the shitter. That is so disrespectful. It is unbelievable. And what do you do now? You don't release shit. You don't say a word to anybody, and you watch as the whole industry and your competitors blow your ass out of the water. You are worse than BlackBerry when they came out and they said, oh, well, our phone, when the iPhone's about to kick their ass, you know what they said? They literally said this. This is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. They said, oh, well, on our phone, you can't surf the web on our phone. It's for business because we're BlackBerry. Don't you know we're BlackBerry? You can't use our phones for leisure because we're business. And where the fuck are they now? That is Blizzard.
$5 a share.
$5 a share. It is truly
Something like that.
unbelievable. Sorry, I just went off. I had this. It was build up. My bad. Johnny is walking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Your friends
I'm
are like,
sorry.
yo,
You
you
good?
good, Sam?
Sick of it. I'm good. I just fucking.
There's
hell.
been a lot
Sorry.
of yelling today. All right.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just look, man. I'm so sick of seeing these fucking arrogant, and there's no other word for it because literally, you guys all saw it. You saw how great the feedback was to them. We were so happy and so proud, and I felt like I was proud to be an Overwatch player and a streamer. I was so proud of them, man. And then they just shit on us. And it's like, it goes back to the point. They need to get out of their bubble, drop the ego, start treating your content creators like assets, and understand that the first step to improving. I've had to do this in my life myself. Like I spiraled out of control this past year. I couldn't sleep. I barely fucking ate, right? I was stressed out and I blew up because of it, right? The first step to getting better is addressing that you have a problem, right? And that's
Real.
what I want Blizzard to do. We do not want to sit here and fucking flame them. I don't want to do that. I want to say congratulations. I want to compliment them. That's what we want. But they have to address the fact that there is clearly no communication. The people up top have no idea what they're doing. The chart reflects it. Everything reflects it. How do we get better? And we have to do it together. That's why I'm glad to hear that you're doing that balance patch, Flats. That's effort. That's understanding that your creators can help you. And it's just, man, I don't even know. I just went off on a huge tangent. I'm sorry, but it's the core issues. It's the substance. This company only focuses on the candy wrapper. Like, oh, we're going to sell you this pretty candy bar. And you open it up and it's fucking sour. And it's like, why would anyone ever buy that candy bar again? That's what Overwatch is like. It's a pretty wrapper with dog shit inside. There you go, SVP, bingo board. But that's just the reality. And that's, I'll talk about my point a bit, but that thematically, that has just been so true for Overwatch, and the gaming industry is fed up with it. It shows in the numbers, and everyone fucking knows it.
I wanted to say, jump in quick though, because I do know at least someone on the Blizzard team is going to watch this and see how we're shouting.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Look, we want to love you guys. I'm trying not to be a dick, but
Andy, it ain't personal, bro. I promise, it ain't personal.
we love you, but it's tough love. That's how I was raised. So I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to highlight a few positives that I think chart the right path, and a few of them has been, I think, Aaron Keller, although he hasn't said much yet. I think he's in control of the destiny of what that new leadership looks like. And I'm seeing like signs of positivity. Let's put it that way. I also think a lot of the moves the Overwatch League has done, for example, putting a lot of people in position is a positive over there in order to influence the format they have. It's like I'm wondering if the same kind of redesign, like Overwatch League's more public for us, like we don't really know the interworkings of what's the leadership structure like in Team 4. So that's why I kind of using it as an example. But I think everything Mr. X has done, from what I can tell, is what I would have done in the same position. And then they get him another job, and they get this guy another job. And it's like, okay, yeah, nodding along. So if we could get that same kind of thing for Team 4, but it's just hard because we don't have the transparency to know how that works. So anyway, the point I was trying to make is you've got time to right the ship, and a good sign is we got to delay this thing. But it brings us to the point that we get to this podcast where we're like, okay, delay, yes, because if it's not figured out by now and something's wrong, you got to redesign something, you got to rethink how you're doing, you got to fix some serious problems. Go do that. Do not release a bad product. That would be really, really bad. However, we're not the ones who told you to stop covering your live service game while you redefine the sequel to make an update for free that people normally get for free in free to play games anyway. It's like nobody told you to do that. So you got to somehow square that circle and figure out how you're going to solve that. And we started the conversation saying maybe more frequent cosmetic events and Twitch drops, things like that. Okay, that's good. I don't know, like other events, other things that your community team could do, whether it's I think I saw Samito tweet he's in some tournament or something. Why isn't Blizzard getting hands on with that? Why aren't we repurposing the Overwatch League for those types of things? And then my point, I guess, to like take a step back with 5v5 is like, I want us to feel like we're on the journey towards Overwatch 2. SVB makes a good point that they want the peak of interest come Overwatch 2, but if you have even a little bit of idea that you're going to make it free to play anyway, and you have to delay till that, like I don't know, I don't have the answer, but I don't know how the game. We haven't seen a game survive through a thing like that. Like that just doesn't happen. Other than like, I guess like they remaster Modern Warfare 2 or something. I'm trying to think like a game that some people do go back to play old COD games, but there's like thousands of people playing. It's like you always want the new hotness. So it's like if you're not going to declare this is the new hotness, you're declaring that Overwatch 1 is basically dead. It's like 6v6, that's dead. It's like, well, good luck, Freedo. Go make a guide on a game where all the meta is going to be entirely different in X months. It's like, what am I supposed to teach you about this? You have 2 takes now, you won't in tomorrow. Like, so how do I teach anything about the game right now? It's impossible. So that's why I feel like I want to feel like I'm on the journey towards it, start implementing it. Anyway, okay. They have moves to make, basically, is the point. They have like a blank slate at the moment. They're working off almost nothing. So anything positive would feel good right now.
Flats, actually, I'll before I quickly go to Flats, I just want to remind everyone that we will talk your ideas at the end of this. So if you guys, we've kind of already had such wide sweeping and amazing ideas. I'm really, really happy. But if you guys have any ideas, drop them in chat. And Flats, maybe you can let me know from your chat as well, or tell them to come drop it in my chat, and we'll discuss them at the end. But now I want to head over to Flats. Flats, feedback on that idea.
Before you go too far, I do want to say something real quick. First off, Overwatch League killed it this year.
Yes,
great,
shout out.
Awesome. Their
Always
content.
do.
They were, which by the way, we had monthly skins from Overwatch League. I just want to put that out there, so it's possible.
They always do such a good job.
One.
No, Overwatch League is just amazing in terms of its production.
2. I used to work in Overwatch League. I am a part of it, signed with Mayhem. So I had to be careful with the words I'm going to say. But I will say, I have very little belief that the old heads that originally started the idea of Overwatch League with this home and away formats, 30 to 40 game season, first year BS, were the people who suggested going to a tournament format. I think the tournament format suggestion were younger, new blood, more in touch people. Whether it was casters, whether it was players, maybe parts of the staff, whether it's from production to management, people that were in touch with esports, period, are the people who made that suggestion and pushed hard for it, because the home and away format was just sleeper. No, there's no reason to care about game 6 when there's 28 of them. There's no reason, you know what I mean? Unless you're watching the top 2 teams or the number 1 team or whatever your favorite team is, which, to be honest with you, the league's way too small to only be focusing on your very small fan base, because each team has a very small fan base. It's way better to look at the overall picture of Overwatch League and grab everyone than your just small fan base. And trust me, I have experience dealing with people like that. So to make your point, though, is if Overwatch League listened and made those decisions, to whoever made them, I think Blizzard should highly consider doing the same thing, because there's no way in hell there's nobody in there that doesn't know. I refuse to believe it. I've worked in big business and corporate. There is absolutely some younger or more in tune or very smart people that have suggested and pushed for this, but they don't have upper level support. I don't know where it's from. I obviously not a part of it. I don't work there. I can't explain it. But if you've worked in corporate before, there's just 0% chance there's nobody in there that doesn't know what they're talking about. It's 0. It's not possible. Someone knows. Maybe a few people know, and maybe even outside that few people, there's a larger group of people that at least agree, or hey, we could try that. That sounds like a good idea, but something's blocking it.
Well, leadership, right? That's the word.
Bingo. But you know what I mean? Just open that the mind up a little bit because we're stuck declining. Sam's pulling literally the stats, like the data don't lie. You know, like
yeah. I
so.
will
I think
say,
Overwatch is
I
a good
think
example.
John getting promoted to the commercial like head of Overwatch is so big.
Big, yeah, it's
Like
true.
Glad
from
you
the league,
mentioned
like
that.
they honestly like because you want to know how the league people are incredibly good at their jobs when they can have such a good year when there's scraps from the game. Like what Overwatch League has managed to accomplish the last 2 to 3 years is incredible. Like they are working with nothing because of leadership and they still kill it every damn year. Those people put those people in charge of the whole damn game. That's why I'm really optimistic about John becoming that commercial lead. They need
John's great.
younger go-getters like him who get it. That man gets it. So let him look. I don't mind the old leadership, but the problem is like they need to listen to these people. Like you can stay in your position, but you gotta let these go-getters who understand this generation get after your IP and let them run with it. They know what they're doing. They kick ass from scraps on the dinner table. Let them run with it. Let them freaking run with it, for God's sake.
I like John a
I'm
lot. I like him a
yeah.
lot. I don't think I've ever told this story on stream, so I hope I don't get in trouble for it. But to be honest, it's been a long enough time that I think the stuff has expired for this part. But when I was very new in Overwatch League, I was, college graduate, starry-eyed, knew all about Overwatch League, like I was still like well into top 500 for a long time player. And I think it was my second week, we had a meeting where Overwatch League executives came to Gillette in Foxborough, and it's the Patriots home. They have these big, huge conference rooms that have like massive portraits of like Brady and like Belichick and the rings and the trophies. It's sick, but it's these massive conference rooms. And I got to sit in on it on one of the things we were talking about. It was something very specific in terms of branding and selling merch. You know what I mean? Like it was like very business oriented. And there was something that was not being talked about. That was just like a no-brainer to me. And so me being the new kid in the corner was like, "Can I ask something?" And I asked John this very specific question. And I got the biggest death stares from around the room from all the old fucking, executives that have been there fucking 20, 30 years are like, "Oh, this stupid kid's talking." And Joe was like, "No, actually, that's actually a great point." And he like went into like this whole thing for like 20 minutes talking about like, well, that's something they actually want to accomplish. And they hadn't really been able to, but they were trying to this reason. And that was actually something they wanted to like experiment later on, but they hadn't actually brought that up yet. And it was great, and I appreciated him talking about that so much because I learned a bunch, and actually the rest of the room learned a bunch because there were things that they hadn't known and they hadn't talked about before and never looked at it that way. And it was something, it's something that like they could have just brushed me off, but he took the time to explain it. And not only did I learn, but they learned some stuff as well because they thought they knew everything, but didn't realize that this was even a possibility. And it ended up being something they pursued, and they ended up doing it down the line. And I was like, holy shit, But that would have never happened if one, I hadn't had this feeling that he was like this good dude that was going to answer my question, and two, if he hadn't done it. So I agree with you. I think he's actually like, I think that's one of the
Thank
best
God
decisions
for
they could have
him.
made.
Yeah,
One of the
thank
best
God for
decisions they
him.
could have made.
And if Blizzard watches this, take the red tape off that man. That's the kind of guy that you need around. So please, if there's any red tape on that man, get rid of it. Let him go wild.
So I kind of want to bring it back to the original kind of what the discussion point that we started. So it all started with obviously Freedo suggesting that we go 5v5 now. And we've kind of come to the possible conclusion that there are people in the Overwatch team who understand why something like that would be a good idea. But we feel like maybe somewhere along the management chain it's being held up. And that's where we brought John in to say...
Because like, sorry to interrupt. It's just that...
No, go ahead.
That was outed because of the shareholder meeting. If Blizzard had its druthers, maybe they don't tell you anything ever till it's like out. Like, and I think we've had devs actually say this. They don't
Jeff said that, didn't
he? Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was public or not, but I'm sure he has said it. They don't like being on this marketing campaign. They really don't like it, and I don't blame them at all. I like imagine having to be the guy that goes on camera and says like, oh, we're super excited to bring Overwatch League to 5v5 and we have no idea when it'll be out. It's going to be great. That's nobody wants that job. That's just the short stick in the organization. And I think they're doing the best with what they have. Sorry to I can't remember why I interrupted now. I went on this line.
Well, you were just saying that I guess you're saying that even the team doesn't even get to discuss it potentially.
Yeah, it might not be done yet, right? And we want it to be good. We want it to be done. We want to support them. But then at the same time, it's like maybe publishing is like, hey, we've got here's what's funny about the Overwatch 2 story, okay? Or listen to this. Imagine this. This is probably something that actually happened, okay? We have the worst drama in public that Blizzard has ever seen. This Blitzchung event is the worst drama we could ever have and have had. We better announce Overwatch 2 and whatever we got. Yeah, do you remember the Blitzchung
that
thing?
Was Hong Kong, right?
Yeah,
right?
the free.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, yeah. Continue.
Way too much drama. Pull that Overwatch 2 cord. Go out and tell them it's coming out. Tell them it's going to be amazing. Just say a bunch of fluff words. Like we have no idea when it's coming out, but just say it'll be the best thing possible. We've got to control the message. And no offense, marketing people. I know this is how the business works. I don't blame you. You got to play the game. The media is like super critical of Blizzard, like overcritical. Content creators are overcritical. So they got to control the message. They got to steer that in the right way in order to right that ship. And then it's like, well, we're still deciding on it. We're still making it. We're still changing things. Oh yeah, let's try 5v5. Oh yeah, we got to do this. And here's a bunch of challenges we didn't expect. That. Oh, we got to hire hundreds more devs to fit. Like it's. We have to understand that that's always a struggle for them with the communication pipeline. That they're forced somewhat to like clue us into things that aren't fully finished yet. I guess that was the only point I was trying to make, is that like that sucks for them. They want to just go make a great game and they got to somehow put on a little song and dance and be like, oh, it's going to be amazing. And we're like, why don't you communicate better? But the thing is that we should acknowledge is like communication is our thing. So like that's what we do mostly. I mean, some of us play games better than others, but mostly it's like we interact with our audience. Like that's our jobs. Okay, we're communicators first and foremost. At least I am. I suck at the game, but they're devs. They make stuff on the computer, right? So we live in this weird fantasy land where we expect devs to also be like brand ambassadors, right? And we had that with Jeff in a way, but that's like an unreasonable expectation to be like, well, you just be charming and like and maybe Jeff had some flaws as well, especially if we're gonna the buck's got to stop somewhere. It's like, where are these old head decisions coming from exactly? Like all this red tape we're talking about, like who's laying it down? Because we know, and I have Lance is 100% correct. There's people in the organization that like can see the elephants in the room. Like, well, why are we discussing the elephants in the room? I hijacked SVB's transition or whatever at some point.
No, I was just trying to summarize to make sure we're all on the same page. No, yeah. Okay, so I was just trying to summarize it. Yeah, that's where we kind of came to this from, is that we're not saying that necessarily. We're not necessarily reinventing the wheel ourselves with these ideas, and someone in the dev team has probably suggested this as well. Like, hey, why don't someone in the dev team was flats in the meeting, sat in a corner, going, "Hey guys, why don't we go free to play and go 5-5 right now?" And what we're saying is that there was a bunch of old people in that room as well, staring at the miniature flats, going, "What the fuck you on about?" So what the kind of bringing it all around is do we need to promote more John Spectors basically in the team to get these kind of ideas out?
Well, the process is in place, I guess. We've got a new game director. We've got that chain going up. So now we just got to give that's sort of what I said earlier with like, okay, we need the new leadership to have some time to make some decisions and see what they're going to do. I want to just warn everybody to brace for impact, because I have a feeling something's going to change. So like we all laid out here, and I tried my best to follow it, of the marketing language of this is their goals, this is where they're going, and then eventually it'll look like this. I feel like we're due some explanations that are going to like reinvent. Like 5v5 to me feels like just a little pebble compared to what like for example, it's like if they're not going free to play, well, what's your freaking plan? Like we know you're going to do different cosmetics. We know you're probably going to monetize differently. You're afraid that loot boxes are going to be outlawed or something. So like there's got to be big decisions hiding behind that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they changed course at some point, because that's kind of what leadership change signifies. I'm still mystified how Jeff Kaplan broke up with us on like a tweet. It's like, you know, I guess it's better than ghosting, but he was like, yo, it's
Not
been
even
real.
a well constructed tweet. It was just like a tweet that you sent from
No
the toilet.
capitalization. Right? Yeah.
Genuine
Exactly.
dude though. Genuine dude though.
Yeah. We all really like Jeff. I just question.
Yeah.
What? Like, I don't know what he's is and isn't responsible for with this, and we have to almost assume he was responsible because who else was if it wasn't him?
No, he 100% was accountable for that. The fish
And
rots from the head first. So,
And that's kind of when I brought this point up later earlier that, you know, since it was first announced at that BlizzCon when Overwatch 2 was announced, and they said all Overwatch 2 PvP content will be free for all consumers. Since they said that, they've never come out and as certainly I don't remember anywhere as emphatically for sure them coming out and saying that is still the plan. Nor have I don't think anyone has really checked them on it. But I think it's conspicuous that they have not since also said, by the way, that's still going to be the thing. They told us about 5v5, they told about this, that, blah, blah, blah. But never did they come out and say, by the way, guys, that's still the thing, which is why I brought that up, because personally, I do wonder if somewhere along the line they've kind of changed that, but they don't want to drop all the bad news at once. Overwatch 2 is delayed. By the way, it's not going to be free either, so you better be prepared to pay.
It would have been good if the game finished what I'm going to call on time, legit on time, which is like, oh, we're done developing. Here's Echo as a character, and 6 months later, Overwatch 2. Like, would anyone be like, oh, this is terrible, the sky's falling? Like, I don't think we feel that way. Now it's like another year. It's like, oh my God, I got to plan my whole life around not having content now for that extended period of time. Like, it's just an outrageous thing. It's like they're taking a gap year. You know, that's a thing that kids do nowadays.
it's a gap year.
Find themselves.
Which they won't admit to, by the way. They won't admit that the game was delayed even then. It's just a public delay now based on the information the shareholders had. And to be fair, there was like legal considerations towards being honest with your shareholders.
Yeah, you
but
have to, yeah.
We were pretty sure because, and this is always my argument with that first delay, which some people think like, how can it be delayed if it's not enough? No. Either it was delayed then earlier on in the timeline there, or they had planned to stop supporting their live service game for this amount of time. Was that the plan, or was it delayed? Like it's just, I don't see any other like option in that. Anyway, so with that amount of time span, I'm assuming that there's like foundational changes to our expectations, or they're still deciding it and they're still like rocky ground. Maybe they still want to do that SV, but like, yeah, I don't know.
It's like it might be another decision they're willing to defer later. Like, let's confirm later. Like, we don't have to make any decision on it now while we're still figuring out what the fuck 5v5 even is. We don't need to announce this, is my guess.
And I also say I find 5v5 pretty underwhelming. Like, as like, here's the new game that we've been working on for years. I'm like,
something
kind of
interesting.
Go ahead.
I thought, and let me know if you agree. Remember when we saw the playtest at BlizzCon this year? So when we saw the BlizzCon playtest, it looked wonky. I mean, a lot of people were like, oh, I don't want to watch gold players play, you know, blah, 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 right? But it didn't look like anything had changed. The game hadn't changed at all. It was just 5v5, like you just removed a tank. But then when we saw the pro player play in September, it looked like 6 months of work had happened. Like there was significant changes, like Sombra reworked, Bastion reworked. It did look like there was changes. Like those were changes that looked like it would take 6 months of time, right? So I almost wonder what happened to the 2 years before, because it didn't look like the game was any different at BlizzCon than it was in 2019 when it was announced, but it looked a noticeable amount different from March or April, whenever we saw it, to September, which is about 6 months. So if you multiply the 6 months of, 4 times, the game should have looked 4 times as different in that same span of time, but it didn't look any different. So I almost wonder what happened to the 2 years in between announcing it in 2019 and 2021, we seeing it 5v5, because 5v5 in March and 5v5 in September look like very different games. So,
well, I'm not even sure it's a big secret that it seems pretty clear that they must have made the decision on 5v5 very late. Like, it definitely wasn't initially, like, it doesn't seem to me like they were like, we're going to make Overwatch 2, we're going to go 5v5. And again, this might allude to Freedo's point of like, well, why did Jeff leave, was fired, whatever it was this one of those things where it was like, Jeff leaves, oh, okay, now we're going 5v5, by the way. Because you're right,
think-
Flats. Like it's not too. I mean, obviously there was PVE to be built in that time as well, but it didn't feel like 2 years worth of consideration was put into the 5v5 that we first saw.
And it's not like Overwatch 1 was going gangbusters with stuff either. Like we were still getting new heroes, but not like it's not like the amount of content you
slower.
expect from other games. There was some offbeat cadences in there, and they were still getting their grips on balance. Like the balance happened after Echo. Like that was the best period of balance, right? After Echo. It's like, okay, quick, let's notch that, tune that, whatever. Like that's where they got in their stride with balance. Prior to so it's like there wasn't really anything tangible in the primary game either. So it's like, where does that effort go? And yeah, I think Flats's point is quite astute. My only answer that I can guess is either it was all hands on deck on all the PvE content, partially because I think that's where they have comfort zones. And if you want to have the WoW devs biased towards something, why get your hands dirty with us? like you see how savage we've been on this show. Who wants to
these
talk
monkeys.
to us? It's like, screw these guys. Where's our WoW fans that give us, like, I was gonna say overwhelming adulation, but I don't know if that's necessarily true for the WoW community either. But WoW, like,
too.
we've all been to BlizzCon, I think, right? I don't know if has SV been to BlizzCon. WoW
I
fans
haven't
are
been.
passionate, okay? WoW fans at BlizzCon are passionate. So like that's who I'm thinking of when I say like a WoW fan. Like they love Blizzard, right? It's not like for competitive type players in Overwatch who are beating on the table and demanding things. Like WoW players have a different relationship to Blizzard, I think. The average ones anyway, not the content creators. But back to my point. I think they biased their workload towards trying to get those people happy for Overwatch 2. Or a mix maybe of this. They hit a reset button on all the PvP stuff. It's like we had a whole bunch of plans for stuff. This is what we wanted to show. Here's a reset. And here's kind of like BlizzCon to go. Like the BlizzCon one, I think is just great. It's like it felt like a thing a group of buddies did. It's like we had a LAN party for this game we're kind of working on. It's like, well, Overwatch or Reinhardt has 2 fire strikes now. Isn't that cute? It's like that's sort of how it felt with 5v5. And then it's like, okay, we're gonna redefine a lot of the characters now to fit that rule set. I'm always suspicious though if Blizzard is more calculated with what they show us, and it's like old builds, and they almost feeling information out there, because I think they want to avoid the viewers doing what Flats just did earlier, which is do the math of like, oh, you showed us this, and now that's this, so now that's what 6 months of progress should look like. Let me extrapolate that now. I think they really don't want that to happen, but at the same time, publishing, as I said earlier, puts them out there and like show something. We got to get those Overwatch League viewership up. We better have a 5v5 playtest. It's like, oh, here's Sombra. That's like that's Sombra change. Okay, we've talked about this before, but so clearly was going to be broken in pros' hands. In no way was balanced for pros. But and then, as we spoke about in those previous shows, I won't rehash.
They genuinely believe that it was balanced. Like I don't remember who said this, but like they were talking to them like,
well,
look,
yeah.
Well, I don't want to get I don't want to get into that, because then we're gonna end up down a rabbit hole. I kind of let's try and really keep to the.
Oh, don't worry, SVB, I'll get there.
In terms of
we're gonna head to Sam in a sec.
In terms of workload, I'm trying to say, it's like, so I don't know how much they're controlling the message there, and if there's more behind the doors. But if there is, here's the question. Here's the truth. Okay, I'm trying to paint all the different pathways here. If there is stuff hidden behind closed doors, and they're showing us a glimpse of like 2 years ago or something, right? Which could be a thing. I don't know. Just to throw a kernel out there. Wouldn't you start to tap into that really soon? Right? Like if there was more to show, when would you wait to show it? Because supposedly an early build is in April for pros to play. So it's like, what? There's no hiding it then, right? Or you're not going to have 2 years ago build in April. So that's not a thing.
The what is, Flats?
That whole fuckery is so dumb.
Unless there's a lot more, I would say. Unless there's a lot more that we're going to be surprised with and overwhelmed with in April.
Nah, even them playing, what, they're going to play it for 6 months before anyone even gets the beta, and then another 3 or 4 before it goes live. Like, you're going to kill the nostalgia of that so fast.
We're redefining esports. That's what that is.
Yeah. That seems
I think that
silly
promise
and
was made
forced
before
me.
the delay, though. You know what I mean? But like,
No,
Yeah.
no. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. We didn't know about the delay.
Yeah.
We didn't know about the delay, but I bet you the delay happened like when Jeff left. Like technically,
the
because
Overwatch teams didn't know.
It's
the
obviously
delay,
a mile away.
Frito, the delay would have had to been disclosed in between the previous quarters. So the delay had to have been between Q2 and Q3 of this year because they have to.
Well, they cited leadership change though, and that happened earlier in the year. So like they struggled.
but
But here's the thing,
the
Sam,
final decision
they
of
struggled with
delay.
it. Yes, the
Yeah.
final decision. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is it would have been obvious based on what they have, right? And then
Yeah.
who knows how much work was getting done during the lawsuits? Maybe zero, right? For months, maybe. So So you are right that the final decision would have had to come on schedule. But what I'm saying is they know what content they have behind closed doors.
They would have known that they probably would have had to do it.
Do the teams in the
before.
league know? That's a different question because they're separate
No.
entities. And that, but I think
No, they
that's the
didn't know.
problem. Is I think the promise. So take
They
this from like an
signed a
Overwatch
whole new
league.
roster, not being sure.
Well,
I
yeah,
think, wasn't it?
Yeah, take it from an Overwatch owner's perspective. You are absolutely livid. You are scraping the bottom of the barrel. Every other game is popping. They get content. They're thriving. You're not. You want answers. You want Overwatch 2 now.
Well, that got leaked,
I remember
though, with
2 years
the
ago
article.
we were talking about Overwatch 2 and how bad teams won that ASAP. 2 years ago when I worked in it, that's when we were talking about it. I can only imagine how bad it is now. So all that time has passed. I'm sure the demands were strong to give us Overwatch 2 now. So the decisions made to have the pros play on Overwatch 2, even if it's early, then it gets delayed. But teams have already dropped half their roster now.
That
So,
wasn't
like,
an
you're
announcement, though, Flats. That wasn't an official announcement. That was a leak from a journalist who went behind the scenes to find out exactly what you're saying, right? And the quote that he got from a source was, "Get it fixed, get it shipped." As in, let's move it on, folks. Overwatch 2 now. Whatever you got, the pencils down, kids. Like that's what that is.
Yeah.
And and it almost feels like, oh, like I zoned out. I was sleeping through the whole test, and you're saying pencils down. I haven't even started yet. Like that's how it feels like. And we're gonna know that. There's no hiding it. Like these questions we have, it'll be obvious come April. Like what do you have? And what I'm saying is, if it is what we've seen already, that's not enough in my opinion.
Right.
But it is what it is. They like I wish they could tell us like, oh, there was a reset in philosophy or whatever. It's probably not going to happen. It's probably they're probably going to have to control the message again and make it seem like this is what they wanted to do, but it doesn't look like that's what you would want to do. You wouldn't want this little to show. You wouldn't want, we're still going to redesign every rework, so who knows how that's going to get back. We wouldn't have all these questions, but they definitely did not want to have to say and commit to that Overwatch 2 thing. That must have been a decision around that time, because you remember the article was about the discontent. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong on this. The article was about the discontent, and then the statement came out.
Who's
the owners? The owners
Okay,
putting pressure, right? I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Which probably makes sense.
Was the official
so.
announcement it'll be on Overwatch 2? Was that in that leak? Or
no,
did that come officially in response to it, to be like, okay, fine, we'll because someone at the top would have, of whatever organization want to say, fix this, because that is fire in everything burning. That's what that article was. Everything's burning, fix this, and that's like a commitment deadline. Like we're guaranteed new thing, and then now we're in Scramble Town. So this is what it makes me feel like. Sometimes the premise of this conversation, no offense, SV, I love your shows and everything. But it's a little quaint of like, how do we save Overwatch 1 now? Bitch, they don't know how they're going to launch the beta of the next game that they have to do now. They have to be doing it now. It's got to be done now. So like, I almost say, screw skins. Let's just have a 4-month break or whatever it's going to be. Enjoy your holiday, everybody. Okay, Overwatch, like it's functionally closed. The shop's closed. Okay, we're redesigning the interior. Okay, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. For once, the interior, like all they focus on is the wrapper, and that has been the biggest problem of Overwatch for 4 years, maybe 5, ever since I think the Mercy rework where they made her the best hero in the game. So it's pish posh, unlucky.
So do we feel like in many ways, and I want to quickly wrap this up and get to Sam's point, because we haven't even talked about what Sam wants to do. But
oh god, we're gonna be here all day.
Do we feel like
it's been quick, don't worry.
Do we feel like it's been a theme of the dev team just being forced over and over? Because if we trace that history. It just sounds over and over a case of the devs are working,
Understaffed.
and then
That's what I think.
a train comes along and smashes them and says, speed up now, drop something now. And they're like, oh, Overwatch 2 is coming, we're redefining the sequels. And it's like, speed up now, 5v5, guys, 5v5, speed up now. Oh, the pros will play it first. So is it a case that we feel like the dev team are trying to do their thing and then they just keep getting rammed by something over and over and over to try and disrupt them?
No.
And force something that they didn't want to do?
No, I don't think it is. I think that I don't think that they would be getting forced if leadership understood the average consumer and how to make a good game experience.
On that
I
note,
don't
Sam,
believe-
what is your idea? Hit me up.
Well, I have an honorable mention. I was gonna talk about Brig. I would remove her from the game to send a message. The hero has been nerfed. First of all, we're gonna start. I want to talk about. I went through 3 years of patch notes. So guys, I want you guys to guess how many times. Did I say this earlier? No, I didn't.
No,
I don't
we
think
started
so.
with we didn't answer it though. We saved it.
Okay, yeah. How many times do you think Brig's been nerfed since she got launched into the game?
It's got to be double
38.
digits.
20.
What was your?
I said
14,
38.
13 to 15.
Okay, Brig has been nerfed 19 times since she came out. Nice, Freedo, and is still one of the best heroes in the game. And
To be fair, it was a rework in there too, but go ahead.
there was a rework in there, but yeah, well, the rework was
More healing.
They nerfed her and buffed her at the same time, so I have that underlined. I actually did
Yeah.
not count those, Frida. I did not count the rework at all. Those are just like straight up nerfs to Brigitte. The problem is, like, I don't think that doing anything other than that first would solve any problems, because then when you put out a new game and all these concepts that fundamentally do not work in Overwatch. When I say fundamentally, what made Overwatch have so much depth and so enjoyable was the fact that single target healing was like kind of like the only option, right? Like, it made decision making be so impactful. It made the game just feel so alive, and it felt like anything could happen, and there was just like an ever expanding learning curve of the game. The more your learning curve expands in a product, the more people want to sink their time into it, right? Because you feel like it's fair. You feel like it's worth your time to invest into that. Brig, if she's proven anything, it's that there is no functional way for that hero to be in this game the way she operates. It can't work. It kills the tank role the most, more than anything. It hurts tanks because the backlines are just unpunishable. So how, like, you're going as Winston, Brig,
The
useless
Aspen
value.
clip. I show it all the time. The Aspen clip.
Yeah, where she just continuously booping him off. And you know what the craziest part is? She actually has the highest potential healing output as well. And she can heal without rally up to 255 health per second if she has all of her packs on different targets. 255 health, that is fucking crazy. With rally, it's over 300. Some of that being armor. And what happens when you put that kind of character in the game is people say, well, why the fuck am I going to spend my time playing this when there's this gimmicky bullshit? Like, the reason why the game was so good in October, it's because no one was playing Bap or Brig specifically. Like, they weren't played. People did not realize that they were still really good. Then Blizzard buffed them, and then everyone got super mad. Right? So the first thing I'm doing is I'm removing Brig from the game, making a PR message about it and saying, look, until we fix this character and find a healthy way to implement it, like, we want to show our players that our game has integrity. Because if your game does not have integrity, you're going to have Al pros walking out the door in the middle of the season. You're going to have your average consumer saying, yo, like, why would I ever sink my time into this? This is just an absolute joke as to how good, like, and that's just what's happened. So you need to get on the ground, get your boots on the ground, and go after and attack the core issues that drive your average consumer away from the game and make people want to play, right? Because if people don't want to play your game, I don't care what new shit comes out. They're just going to be gone in 6 months. And you know what our chart's going to look like? It's going to look like just the one down below. It's going to have a huge spike, and then you're never going to get it back. That's what Fortnite does so well. That's what Apex has done so well. Like, even Flats, the Warzone kind of model that I think Apex kind of... Wait, what come first? Did Apex come first or did Warzone come first? I think it was Apex, right?
I think Apex came first, and then
I think it was
Warzone
Apex.
later.
I think it was Apex. Yeah, maybe Warzone took a page out of their book. But whenever they put new shit in the game, it's broken for a week or two and then nerfed to the ground, and then it's gone. Brig has been nerfed 19 times in 3 years and is still dominating this game. That is inexcusable. That is
at your tier of play.
Excusable at our tier of play. That's all the more reason to redesign it. If the character is meant to be an entry-level character that allows people to get into the game, Why is she terrible at low level play but broken at high level play? Like it's so poorly designed.
Fundamental flawed.
It's fundamentally flawed, and it's literally unfixable. That's what they need to understand. You can't fix it with this iteration of the character. Just vault it for the time being. And you know what's crazy? This game gets 3 times like it's the proof's in the pudding. Look at how good the game was in October when no one picked Brig of last year. I saw one player, Nifkins, picking Brig.
Or
I think
Bap.
Brig got
So
picked a little more than Bat back then, if I remember correctly.
Bap wasn't picked either because Bap, he struggled to heal at the time.
Small window too.
And he had small window. So he wasn't picked. The main comps that were run a lot of the time were either Mercy Ana or Lucio Moira. And you had a really good combination of like Rush and poke comps being played. And like Zen, if you wanted to play Zen, he was super vulnerable. And there was so much depth and chess in the game. It felt like original Overwatch because there were so many different decisions and combos that you can make. Every single role could get a lot of value. And I remember specifically like tweeting about that, being like, wow, this took me aback. I can't believe how good this game is right now. Seagull made his video. Everyone did.
Seagull video.
Yeah. It was, dude, it was crazy. And the one thing that needed to make that happen is Brig was not played. I know I'm a broken record on this, and I'm sorry for that. I truly am. But god damn it, I know it's the fucking truth. And the proof is in the pudding. It's been 19 nerfs. You nerf a character 19 times. Straight up, I'll fucking read through them. Shield bash cone angle reduced from 90 to 60. It's just little slaps on the wrist over and I'm not going to read through these whole things. It's going to go on forever. But 19 times? And she's still broken? And speaking of the elephant in the room, this balance team needs to go. I'm sorry. You've had so many opportunities to prove yourself, and you have fucking royally shit on it over and over and over and over. Hey, Flats, what were your thoughts on the extra damage to Reinhardt's swing last year when double shields dominating the game, which, by the way, all the streamers said, hey, if you nerf it like this, it's just going to come back. Like, you haven't attacked the core issue. You're just putting the wrapper on. You won't go after the change the damn candy bar. That's what we want. We want the candy bar to be good. And it's every time. It just needs to happen. So to fix Overwatch 1, step 1, get Brig out of the game, send a message. People, this game has integrity. It's worth your time to sink into it. We're not going to allow people to bypass the learning curve of the game. Get in here and have fun. And they need to step into the ranked mode and make people want to play it. You know what would be really fun too? Sorry, this is kind of a second point. I think it'd be sweet if they had like weekend throwback tournaments that are like 6v6. Like one weekend, it's you're forced to play GOATs. And you 6-stack with your friends across every rank. You have to stack with the team to play. And just for one weekend, there's a top 500 ladder. And you have to play GOATs. And it's just 1 week, one off. It's reusing content, right? It wouldn't be that hard to make. You could probably do it in an hour. And throw out a tournament format maybe once a month, maybe once every weekend. Like I'd play that. I'm sure you guys would find a stack to play with too. And it's reusing content. It's efficiency. You don't have to sync. You don't have to pull any of your resources away from Overwatch 2, but you can still liven up the game and do something to make people want to come back and play Overwatch for what it truly is, a team-based game. It's for a team. You have to do it with your friends. And that's what makes gaming so much fun. And we've continuously made decisions to take the game away from playing with your friends, which is just completely out of touch with what gaming is.
In GM right now, it's solo queue playstyle. It's TDM solo queue. You have ball hog or like ball sig / hog sig, right? That's your tank lineup. Your DPS are like Tracer, Hanzo, Echo, like Soldier, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's very, very either much like low pocket or play solo, and then you bring Zen as your backline. Like,
so
balance.
Your Zen sits back there and is Zen supposed to be a glass cannon? No, with Brig, he's a fortress.
Yeah,
and it's basically an artillery battery sitting back there. You stick your head out, you're just getting 5-orb volleyed, which has no fall off damage, so you just get blown away. You on the DPS end, Tracer is just really like self-reliant, but Tracer's one of the most fun heroes in the game, and I'm okay with Tracer being good. I think the game feels really good when Tracer's good, but so Tracer's one thing, but then Hanzo is supposed to be a sniper. Doesn't feel like a sniper. He's more just like a up close storm arrow, tank buster, deletion cannon, which is fun. Not fun for me. I don't think it's fun for you. It's not fun for nobody.
It's so boring.
Echo just is just its own.
So
you know what I mean, and so it's like, who's having fun at that point? There's no team play. There's no coordination. Most of my games are silent games nowadays. There's no reason to talk. You just sit there and you slowly play the game and you slowly take space or blow up and go back to spawn and come back and you sit there and you poke and that's all you do. You know, it's
So,
not about
I,
teamwork anymore.
I just want to quickly chime in here, and while I personally agree with you guys, and you don't have to get me started on Hanzo hate train, but I think there will be a lot of people watching and listening to this who will say, well, that's all cool for you guys in GM and stuff, but none of that really even has any relevance to me when I play in plat. So go ahead. Yeah. So go ahead. What's your feedback to people who feel and think that?
To which point it doesn't affect you?
They just feel like I think a lot of people feel like, well, I don't even brig isn't even a problem for me. Like it doesn't matter.
Not only isn't a problem, like sucks. Like that.
Yeah, she's terrible in low ranks. She's terrible.
She's not even yeah, but that's the whole point. So when
she
you
sucks,
it's because people
but what they're saying is if you change or remove Brig, what would it matter? It wouldn't change. It would literally would change nothing because she's not there in half their games anyways, or 90% of their games anyways.
And then let her just get removed then. No problems.
But will that help? Will that help Overwatch 1?
It will.
Like,
it will because when you see prominent gamers come back to this game and take it seriously, you also want to take it seriously. The reason why plat is the worst rank in the game. Low plat, no one cares. No one cares. And it's on Blizzard. And see, here's Blizzard's problem again. This is like they're not proactive. They blame the players instead of stepping up themselves to try to get the players. You're the figurehead of the ship, Blizzard. Like, if you want people to give a shit about your game, you got to give a shit about your game. You got to send the message that, yo, we want you guys to try and ranked. They just made so many decisions, like private profiles, a lot of other things. Now you could argue for that to be fine, but I'm not specifically saying that is an issue. But it's the narrative of we're going to continuously make it so that rank doesn't have integrity, this game doesn't have integrity, and let people do whatever they want, pish posh, pick daisies in the fucking outfield. No, I'm playing baseball. I'm not trying to pick daisies out here. People showed up to play baseball. Help them play baseball. Don't let some kid in there pick daisies in the goddamn outfield. Play the game, right? So it does affect plat because it's about sending a message, right? You need to let people know that you give a shit about your game. I give a shit about your experience. Start banning these idiot trolls who get on accounts and just int games like the Wrecking Ball I had, who did get banned. Shout out to Blizzard for that. The guy who was protesting gun violence and not using his guns on ball in my game. It was great. Love that. You got to get people like that the hell out of here. You got to incentivize group queues so that people can enjoy the game with their friends. That is what gaming is about. That is when Overwatch is fun. I play all the time with Johnny, who's in plat, and my buddy Wyatt, who's gold plat on Zen. We stack up and like, look, I don't try. I just pick Brig and AFK. I'm not going to lie to you. But they enjoy the game way more because they're playing with their buddies. So, like, Blizzard needs to step up and get these people to really care about their game. That's how you can go the extra mile. Make the game experience good. When's the last time you've heard when people say they don't play Overwatch anymore? 9 times out of 10, it's the same thing. It's like I just get throwers on all my games. Like, it's just not comp is just awful. Like, quick play's great. They've done a great job with quick play, but guess what? Quick play doesn't make the best games the best. Competitiveness does. The most viewership in every hobby on the damn planet is the highest level of play in that activity. The Super Bowl, NBA Finals, you name it, the Olympics, damn it, anything. The most viewed events in the world are where people are trying their best and people give a shit, right? You got to help your players give a shit again. And when they do, because we want to, but they know damn well it's not worth their time. So you got to send a message. It's about changing the narrative. That's the only way Overwatch 1 gets back in the game. It's that we care, and we're going to make sure your experience is actually good here. And we've neglected you guys for years. We've paid the price for it, and we're sorry. We're going to make it better. And that's why I think this new leadership, those are those kind of guys. And that's, you know who I think would be great for the Overwatch League director position they're talking about opening up? A guy like Packing 10. Guy who's been on the ground, right? They need the guys that are on the ground and understand the game experience that needs to get delivered. And that is our path to success. That this Overwatch could blow up again today if it was the actual game experience that we very rarely get in top 500. But we just, no one ever gets it.
The YouTube games, I call them.
The YouTube games, yes. If most of the games were YouTube games, which they could be if you stack with your friends, right? Everyone's trying.
Well, yeah. This kind of brings me to my point where I want Freedo to chime in as well, but I'll quickly spell out because I think I agree with everything you're saying, Sam. Like not any part of me is like, no, don't do that. I think from my PV, because my PV, again, I'm not good. Like Freedo and I we're subpar, we're master, so we don't even encounter half these problems half the time. And I know the majority of the people that I speak to from my content side, they never care about any of this. For them, it's not relevant. to them, I think you are touching on a core point though, is the idea of playing with your friends. I think is core and should be and always has been core to why people play Overwatch. Is that experience of stacking up with your buddies, getting into the queue, whether it's quick play or whatever, playing together, having fun. So personally, I would like to see changes that allow stacking a little bit more easier. And what I mean by that is obviously you guys in GM, you can't do more than a duo, which would be nice to remove as well. But
Can't even do it in Lucio Ball.
yeah.
What?
Yeah, you
Whereas-
can't trio queue in Lucio Ball. No cap. Even
Whereas
if you're
what-
MMR, not even SR. MMR is high.
Whereas what I would like to see is penalties removed in general from stacking. Basically in the sense that when you stack, as people will know outside of GM, you tend to get put up in much harder games. And I know this is a little bit controversial, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. Again, I just want to give Freedo the chance to speak, but I think we should just let 6 stacks play without changing the balancing in any way when the matchmaker's considering them, because I think that's when people have the most fun. And the worst thing is when you stack up with your friends, you gather up together, and then you feel like you're up against a wall, getting put up against much harder games. Smurfs and shit. I don't want to get too deep into that either, but the proportion of Smurfs and shit that we get when we stack in, it makes you not want to play with your friends, and that makes you not want to play in turn. So I know there's solo queue warriors who would say, well, I want to solo queue. Why do I get punished by going up against a sweaty 6 stack? But I think that's the kind of direction that I would think would really help the average player's experience. Freedo, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta be honest, guys. Like a lot of these changes, I hate to always be the bearer of bad news in the percentage gains that we're talking about, whether it's balance changes for the top 1% or people who want to. So Blizzard's strategy to knock down groups was that it was their assumption that so few people will want to group that they want, the way I like to call it, and I hope this is not too heavy-handed way to explain it, but it's like they want bumper bowling. Okay, so when you play normal bowling, is that what you do? Do you play bowling? I don't know.
When one bowls,
when one touches grass and is on a
When-
date
no.
or something with a fictional women that don't exist, isn't that right, Seth? No.
Yeah,
So,
shows a different
okay.
school.
When you're bowling, there's gutters on the side which punish you for missing. Okay, bumper bowling sort of lets kids play, and it bounces. There's no gutters, basically. It just keeps bouncing and bouncing, so you're gonna hit something, and it gives you the sense of satisfaction, and it lets you try to enjoy it if you have no fundamentals whatsoever. I like this analogy because this is how I feel the Overwatch ranked experience prepares people to learn Overwatch, where if you don't play against any coordination, you never end up learning what those are, or what the base set of Overwatch as a competitive experience is, which is like, dive within your Ana's line of sight and use these resources here, and in order to counter the pharmacy, you need resources to funnel to this, like all that strategy stuff that I love so much, just more or less doesn't exist, and it's more about solo QE stuff is always going to like devolve to be the standard meta of average Overwatch ranked, of like moving and shooting and just getting value somehow on your own the best you can. And so, which is why we find ourselves in even top tier metas of this, where if you don't even for you guys up there, if the balance isn't so much that like teamwork stuff works, it always kind of biases a little bit towards that anyway, even if the team meta is different. So this is sort of my entire rant about why I hate ranked in general, but I don't know if enough people would take advantage of 6 stacking now for it to like move the needle in any perceivable way. I of course want it, but I think what they need to do is redesign ranked so that when you group with friends, it gives you an accurate, separate ranking of you as a team. Because what happens in reality of like, if we wanted to stack, we would have to be on SR accounts that aren't accurate to where our team should be ranked. And there's no way for the game to say, oh, you got a bunch of scrubs and Samito on Doomfist that we're pocketing. Like, imagine how horrible that would be for literally anyone we played against if we just pocketed Samito's Doomfist against Platts. I've already seen him do it in solo queue. It would be horrendous for them. But all the rant I just went on the resources of the game, and you got to do this, blah, blah, blah. If you're not experiencing that, the community kind of doesn't learn it. So in one way, it's medicine for you to learn the real game, to get smashed by a strategy, and then have to like question yourself and actually fix it, which is what happens when you play a real esport. but it would have to need accurate ranking to make it feel fair, because otherwise you're just like,
100%.
I'm gonna jump in and play Overwatch casually. All of a sudden now I'm playing against Samito. What the fuck is this? And that's why so many people get mad at Sam for smurfing. You know, obviously I think it's very useful for content and teaches a lot of people a lot of things, especially legitimizing what ranked doesn't do poorly, which is it does accurately put you in the bands of your skill at the game. But it doesn't do is accurately distribute you based on your like knowledge of the team play esport of the game. That's not like first and foremost. That's how you get Flat's Masters teammate who's like, high ground on Hollywood. Why would I do that? Like it's like, you know,
God, that clip is so golden.
Yeah, I would love it. That's an oldie but a goodie. But okay, so I think that's healthy for the game, but I don't know if Blizzard is really prepared to make that jump. We'll see. Aaron Keller has made the right noises to indicate he's like, yeah, this is a competitive game, and we're gonna have to treat this seriously. It's like, okay, all's in your court, Aaron. Like, show us what that means, because it means this is like a Dota game, which is, if you want to play ranked, you might get stomped. Okay, like it's tough. The game is tough, and I think it's just getting harder with Overwatch 2. If you're not skilled in Overwatch 2, I think you're screwed, because a lot of the stuff Sam's talking about with like easy value and stuff, they've been hacking away at that. They've been trying. I know Brig's strong for you guys now, but Brig is harder to play now than before. She might be oppressive,
100%,
but she is harder to play. 100%. So this is what I always try to get through to you guys, that I think is a blind spot for you, that you don't see what I see, which is all the Brig players who physically cannot play Brig now. Right, it's too hard for them mechanically, because all your strengths, Sam, I love watching your gameplay for this. I learn a lot of your spacing and timing, and boom, that's where your Doomfist skill, your Brig skill, like you're just in, boom, time, this ability, hit, stun, cancel, boom, boom, boom. Like it's so fluid because your Overwatch IQ is at such a level, and your movement mechanics, you know, Flats obviously on Ryan is poetry in motion as well in the same way. It's very similar, but our community doesn't have that skill set. So when we come at it with like balancing stuff, I'm like, I start to wince a little bit.
That's why
like,
I want to change too.
Yeah, I think redesign is definitely a thing. But anyway, I spoke on the balancing thing, and I spoke on the stacking thing. I
think you're right on both.
I'm getting lost a little bit in the sauce here. I think the ranking system needs to be changed for that to happen, is what I'm trying to say. Is like,
can I add on to my point as well?
We should have a way we can group, but get a different ranking. That's it.
I think the main thing, like, I agree with you in that I don't think this would fix the game entirely. My point is that since it's the one thing that we need to do, like, if you want to fix a product, you have to start at the foundation, right? And I think that you need that really solid foundation that Overwatch used to have, because it was the way it was, to then build on it and do the things that you were talking about, Freedo. Like, I think that is step one, and it needs to be step one, because if that's not the foundational level going into Overwatch 2, we're just going to be in the same ship. We're going to be going in circles, you know? But yeah, no, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. And I do agree with you. I just think it would be a great starting point for the time being.
Okay, so anything else to add on any of those before we kind of wrap up? I want to quickly run through any suggestions that we got from chat. But Flats, you got anything to say on? Well, this is the absolute opposite of what I was hoping at the end of this we'd feel. It was just optimistic and positive.
Because they're not going to remove Brig, but he's right, honestly. Like, I haven't even thought about it recently, because I just know it's not going to happen. Like it sucks. You know where I am? I'm here. Or I talked about it earlier. All the way through, not even complaining anymore. Not even saying it anymore, because it's not going to happen. Don't care. Was here saying, like, this sucks. Please get rid of this. Please. It's time. Now hit here. Now I've just accepted that it will never happen.
19
even though it is the best thing to rebuild that foundation.
It's unlucky. I will say though, I am optimistic in general, because look, I think we are at rock bottom. I think I remember talking, I don't know what podcast was on or whatever, but like 2 years ago, I said the only way that I see this changing is if they tank the stock, and it makes investors and the Overwatch League owners like have to chime in and be like, what are you guys doing? And that's happened, right? So we've seen leadership change, which is good. The guys that are going in, we like. Now we're just on the clock waiting for their actual decisions to have out like an effect on the game. Like we are, I would say, hold on. That's classic me fashion. I will say that I just hit my head and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God, I'm an idiot.
The stock is tanked so much that now there's nowhere lower to go.
It's like the change is gonna come, and I do believe that the change will come now, especially with a lot of these go-getters getting pulled into Blizzard. Those are the guys we need. And
Starting.
I think if those guys are allowed to actually make the decisions, we got a bright future. I do believe that, and I really, really hope that Blizzard gives them the chance to do that. That would be beautiful. So good luck, guys. We're rooting for you. We bat for the home team. We're just a little sad. So sorry for being negative Andes.
Yeah, that's definitely not the intention. What we're kind of trying to get at here. We're just trying to, find some light at the tunnel. Okay, so what I want to do now, really quickly, because we've kind of gone over what we already said we would. So I want to quickly wrap up. I'm gonna give a quick suggestion. I'm gonna rattle off some suggestions from chat, and I want you guys to give like a 1 to 2 sentence reply if you have any strong feelings either way on that idea. The first one will be kind of spicy, which I want to hear Freedo's take, because Samito and Flats and I kind of half touched on this when we last called. But going back to open queue, if we went 5v5, because Flats, just to context, Flat brought up a clip. What channel was it, Flats?
It was like offline TV, like podcast or something.
Yeah. And the guy said that basically 222 was the dumbest decision they ever made in the history of Overwatch, because it ruined the game for casuals, and the whole point of Overwatch was supposed to be that you can pick whatever you want to pick, and being restricted by your role, defy those characteristics. So would going back to open queue help?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you go.
I think what I don't like about this process, and this happens in life as well, where someone will have an argument, okay? And they'll say, to see the change you want, you need to do 10 things, right? To reach whatever goal you want. It goes for everything in life. I'm avoiding making some big analogy I don't know if anybody really needs, but you know what I mean. It's like things are multifaceted in that way. The conversation between open queue and roll queue to me is like, well, what are your priorities? What do you want to get out of it? And I think people often kind of miss some of that checklist of things in either direction. So a problem that I have with open queue suggested for 5v5, well, are you anticipating that you'd be able to balance the game to make damage relevant, or because that was an issue before, right? Like, I think locking only one tank solves the problem of especially 5v5 in general. All the positives me and SV have said about the casual player base in 5v5 and why it'll make them playable for you kind of just tossing out the window so that you can pick whatever hero you want. Like that premise, unchecked, that everyone can pick anything all the time and swap all the time, isn't competitive. I'll just flat out say it. It's just not competitive. If you wanted to do that, you could have done a hero draft of some kind, or other ways to like mold team comps to plan for that.
Someone hit bingo.
Bingo!
If you don't have a hero draft, then what you get is a singular meta, because like there's going to be a way to solve for whatever the win condition of the game is. And if it is go win on the objective, and you have a comp that's goats, like it was really, really difficult for anyone to theory craft a strategy that beat it. Eventually, like it kind of happened, but it also took a lot of those brick nerfs were during that time. Remember that? So, like a lot of like,
wow, they nerfed brick and then the game opened up. Who would have thought?
Well, my point is, I think it's much harder to balance for all possible combinations than it is the world we have now. So like what I'm saying is, whatever you liked about October last year, I don't think exists in open queue, really, because having multiple comps that are good on different maps is a result of some of those other changes. So you can't, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And it's very easy to like remember the freedom you had in open queue, but forget, like, realistically, a lot of heroes were terrible, like just god awful, like useless. Like you could play them if you wanted, but yeah, like Hanzo and stuff. And you got like Tracer zipping around. It's dive meta. They had no idea what to do with some of those projectile heroes, and you had special.
I had an 85% win rate on Hanzo in that meta.
Yeah. A few people stood out, but it's like, what do you want? Do you want the game to be more free and open to interpretation, but there's a lot of wasted, like I'm gonna say wasted potential? Sam likes me and Sam kind of came at odds last podcast with like the term depth, right? It's like depth to me in the game often is that there's multiple strategies that you can go into the tier list and still become viable. Whereas if the game is more, if and I already think 5v5 is doing this in a major way. If it's going to reward skill more, then a lot of that depth might go away. Like I have no idea what they're going to do with like Symmetra in 5v5. Like how is she useful at all if you got Sombras and Tracer? It's just Sombra Tracer all the time, right? Because we understand why Symmetra is good now, because you got Mei and Reinhardt, and if you play a full comp together in a death ball, it can mega death ball. But now we're saying you can't do that anymore. So I'm like, well, it's just hard for me to see that. So anyway, you got to pick your poison with this stuff. Do you want a diverse game where heroes legitimately can compete, or do you want absolute freedom? Because the more freedom you have, the harder it is to balance. That's basically my point, because the variables become the stack on. You can't control as many variables, whereas now they're saying one tank. Like you ain't picking 5, okay? Open queue, maybe you could, and maybe a lot of people like that. Like we've seen those clips of people picking 5 Reinhardts and running to the point with a Lucio or something. Like it's adorable, but it's not a competitive game. Okay, it's not to be taken seriously. Did anybody look back to like the earliest days of competitive Overwatch?
Oh, 6 Divas stalling, yeah.
6 Divas stalling, or the
5 Winstons, 1 Lucio.
2 Winstons. It was 2-2-2.
Yeah,
2 Winstons, 2 Tracers, and 2 Lucios. Was that it?
That was definitely a thing.
Yeah,
that was definitely a thing.
Yeah,
that's not an
and that was when Lucio could heal the whole map too.
Right. That's not an esport. Okay.
Wait, did they ask about open queue or roll or hero limit?
Open queue, not hero limit.
Yeah, okay, so you wouldn't have the hero, but still, like, regardless, even when they put it in hero limit, you just got heroes that synced up in the same role. So you're still kind of doubling down, right? We got Sombra Tracer now. Maybe you would want to pick 2 Tracers if you could, but now we just got, Mega Tracer in, or Mega Sombra in 5v5. It's like, you still pick synergistic things that are basically, double shield, same idea. It's like, well, we can't pick 2 Orisas, so I guess we'll have this other guy that's like Orisa. If you could pick 2 Orisas, the argument still stands, is my point. Like single pick is like such a drop in the bucket in compared to the problems of it, and it always comes down to format for me, because like Sam's getting all excited about a GOATS tournament. I'm like, I don't want GOATS to be the game, but if it's like a format, yeah, I don't care. It's always comes down to format for me, because and that's why some way to mitigate the hero roster. How are we going to do it when we have 40 heroes and the game's more simple? Not like we don't really have time for this, but like that's maybe a whole nother Overwatch 2 question, where I'm like, the game looks like it's getting more simple and more direct to shooter focus, right? And that's good in some ways for a lot of players, but for people like me or tank players, I think especially, that like the nuance of the MOBA aspects of the game and the positioning and all that. That's why I think 5v5 looks a little underwhelming to me, because I'm like, oh, it's just it's COD, okay. Where's all that depth I liked? And like, well, the depth was kind of dangerous, and it made for all these problems. Like, yeah, but that's why I play this game. So
the game was fine at one point.
Whereas I think you can have that if you add a draft mode, or you have other crazy. That's just my idea. Okay, there might be other ideas for other formats, but I think whoever's arguing that's like, what we need is more freedom. It's like, you don't understand how competitive games work. If you think just maximize the freedom so the casuals are happy, they left anyway. Back then when we had open queue, they were already leaving. Yeah, so it's just a nonsense argument. Like roll queue fixed quick play, and I don't think there's any way to debate that. I know there's problems for different tiers of play, and you can make a lot of arguments about downsides of 2-2-2. I understand, but like it was a step forward is my argument. So I think it's just. Open queue is not the answer. Maybe a different format is, but it's not what we had before. You're just using nostalgia glasses to remember when you didn't care as much about how broken the game was then, because it was broken then. Trust me. You just people weren't as critical on balance back then. We were, I feel, or I was at least, but the community as a whole, like, I mean, like, you got to think of this, right? There was a player base that exists that actually thinks Valkyrie 1.0 was not only balanced, that the nerfs were unjustified, and she is useless now. Now, no, maybe not a top tier pick, but I feel compared to any other support, if you're outside of the top 1%, Mercy is hilariously overpowered for the amount of skill required to put it. And I'm like, well, how do we fix this? I don't know. I just sort of shrug.
Don't do it.
Well, the way I feel is like anytime I watch anyone trying to play Zen or On or anything else,
you're right. You're right.
The value's all over the place. Whereas like I'm against the Mercy, and I'm just like as a DPS who's not insane, I'm like, oh, I just lose this DPS now. So hopefully my tanks can do something, because They just instantly get healed every single time. We pick them off against rest. It's like it swings the DPS battle so hard. And I think what I'm, Sam's got the Brig issue. I got the Mercy issue. Because I think like it's sort of pain. No, and I feel like
Mercy.
Nobody, you can. It's not the same thing, but it's just like nobody's good at Brig outside of GM or good about playing around Brig. So Mercy's easier. So they were talking about skill floor versus skill ceiling problems. This is why format has to fix it. That's what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, format needs to fix it for different tiers of play, because there's tiers where different heroes are different problems. I mean, Seagull made these arguments years ago to the devs. It's like, well, and SVB has made them as well, I believe. Everyone's got their different issues with the game, and the format needs to solve it. And it can't just be like, do whatever you want, because then you're going to then that turns into double shield and all this other nonsense. That's like, well, that's not a game anymore. Like, why do we want to play that? Okay. Sorry.
I literally, you might remember, I literally wrote a 5-page report, presented it in a PDF and sent it to the devs on this whole issue. But yeah, anything you guys want to add to that, Sam or Flats, on just that thread or the idea of open queue?
I think for your guys' tier of play, it's probably better, but it's not better for the whole game. I think maybe that'd be a fair statement. Is like, but that's again almost saying like we need a bit different high tier format. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that. Like open queue would help you guys, yeah, but I think it would make the game unplayable again, the way I saw it be unplayable for years for the average player.
I mean, I want a format change. We're kind of in sync on the draft or ban system of some sort, but yeah, Flats, Samito.
Nah, I think there's four stages of Overwatch. Hero limit, Mercy rework, Brig, and role queue. I think those are the 4 major milestones of Overwatch that the game fundamentally changed in. And if you look at those, which one of those had positive impacts and which one of those had extremely negative impacts? Hero limit was positive. It changed the game from a very memey 5 Winstons, 1 Lucio, or 6 Divas stalling to actually caring about your compositions. Good. Mercy rework broke and changed the entire way the game played. Dive became meta and was dominant for about a year and a half or so. Brig gets released. Ever since, she has tormented the entire game. Goats was meta, so much so that role queue was made. Now, to be honest, we were kind of coming out of Goats meta when role queue came out, but it was more or less made so that it will never happen again. So you look at these 4 things. Role queue solved a lot of problems. It was good. The hero picks, limiting to 1 hero pick per for each one, good change. Brought a lot of balance. Team compositions kind of removed the wackiness, made it it made sense. The other 2, we've already fixed Mercy. Mercy's in a much better spot competitively. Some people think she's overpowered, some people think she's underpowered, but at all levels of play, she sees play, isn't dominant. Brig sucks for low ranked players because they don't know how to play her, and is dominant for high level players. What that says is that nobody enjoys her. 0. Nobody. Low ranked players don't think that she's a problem, which, by the way, I love hearing that sometimes. Is, you don't know how to deal with Brig. Brig's never a problem in my gold games. I'm like, yeah, well, your gold Brig is fucking terrible. I don't know what to tell you. What you don't understand, though, is if you ever do bump into a good Brig, your team isn't going to do shit. People often
you're
not even
going
to realize it.
It does happen, but they don't attribute the strength.
There's
to
no
Brig.
visual effect.
DPS no kill thing. DPS no kill thing.
I tell you where it comes from, Flats. It's from bad tanks who take shit engagements, and then all of a sudden the team's immortal because all the healing numbers that Sam gets. Like I see this all the time. It's a huge tip for you tank players. It's like if you're a ball and you engage out of sync and you give Brig Inspire, you might as well just be like, oh, the team fight's over. Like, just go back to spawn, wait for it. Because not only is your engage tool not now there when your damage needs it, they got Inspire and they're just immortal. So you're poking from the side, you're trying to come in, you dive her, then she's got bash and she destroys you. So yeah, I agree with all that, but it's just a lot of these things, they don't translate through the tiers because nobody knows how to play. Like no one knows that.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's happening.
At the point. It's at the point where I am literally gonna teach this whole freaking community how to play Brig just to show how broken it is. Like I've been doing my unranked GM on Brig and just turning my brain off. It's so free. The only games you lose are when you have Popo charging in 1v6 against a double shield on Reinhardt and he instant dies. That's the only time you lose. But you know what would be crazy? And I want y'all's thoughts on this real quick. I think that the community would have a better understanding of how broken Brig was if her visual effects for how she healed were better. Like the thing is, you can't see what she's doing. And this is one of the big reasons why people don't understand how broken she is. If you like, I think it would be really interesting to see if, for example, when Inspire is up, if it like chained like a Mercy Beam or something, like just visually like really show that they're healing, because you have to have a really good game eye to understand how much it's doing. And I think that's why I was pretty good at the character, because like I can see these things and I realized I was like, wait a minute, this is busted. Like do you guys think that would be a big difference? I really think it would. Like if people could see visually just how much
it would be insane how much like imagine like you know how an EMP hits and it's like, oh my god, an EMP. I mean that's what it would look like. It'd be like, oh my god, everyone's immortal. Like that's what I'm saying. And you're entirely right. And
can a workshop dev do that for us?
They definitely could. They definitely could. Yeah,
that would be awesome. I would love that. I would love that.
Just with the healing numbers, like an RPG or something. You saw
show the healing. No, I want you to show the healing.
That can be done. Yeah, that can be done.
Please, someone do that, because it will. I guarantee you, like it will change opinions. Well, there's no way it won't.
She is getting reworked somewhat in Overwatch 2, and I know you're strong. She will heal and whatnot, and still probably be strong. But
at least makes her broken.
Well, yes, but like I don't know if we can say definitively that if she loses the stun, then she's not like I feel like now a top tier Brig isn't really punishable because she has
whip shot's better than her bash nowadays.
Yeah, well, yes, but
stun. The thing is, Freedo, the stun is for spacing 95% of the time. Like they're the only conditions. Well, the main condition where stun is used like as a stun, it generally only gets value when a fight's kind of already been won. The most important thing is always been the flail.
Chain stuns are insane in the game.
Chain stuns, you're absolutely right. It counters ball. It counters like ball and hog and stuff. But for the most part, you go ahead. Sorry, I'm not going
to. What I need you guys to do as high-level players, oftentimes, this is like a blind spot for you guys, is that it's tough for you to see the logic of the game when they make 100 changes, right? Like a lot of times you're like, well, the spacing and whatnot, and like I agree with you, but that's because you have to respect the stun. So you as a player engaging in on her, you don't get stunned, but that's because you've already done the processes of like, I can't go here and here and here and here because it will stun me. I'll get chain stun and die. We don't know the logic of 5v5 yet because no one's played it. I mean, 10 people in Hawaii, like we don't know what that's going to be. When you can't get chain stunned, can you just literally go right at her and then she dies and falls over? Like I don't know. The only
support that has the tankiness she does though. She has 50 armor on top of that. If you're a tracer player, your damage does almost nothing to armor. You know, like. And never mind, she has a 200 HP shield, and that's apparently going to go up in Overwatch 2. I thought I remember that was up a little bit.
I think the damage of Bash is going to be about 50 again, right?
Yeah, 50 damage, but no stun on it. It's that's even fundamentally so broken though.
That sounds similar to me to the tankiness, quote unquote tankiness, that Mercy kind of has anyway on her own because she flies away. So if Brig doesn't stun
that's
you,
not tanky. That's movement.
Away. She self heals. Self heal is tankiness though. It's going to feel.
But self heal stops if she takes damage. Briggs doesn't.
Yes. So again, when you guys argue, often it's like from an absolutist like point of view. I'm just saying, in principle, the idea of chasing down a support to overwhelm them, yes, shooting it to stop self heal feels better than overwhelming amounts of inspire healing. I agree, but my point is, from a mechanics point of view of how you engage it, Mercy has no punishment for you to just run at her, whereas Brig does. And you don't know what that feels like to play against now when you don't have a McCree stun and a Brig stun and this stun and that stun and 100 stuns. Like they're removing all the stuns. So that means...
Are they taking the CC off whip shot?
No, but my point is you can't chain stun. So you don't know what engagements feel or look like until we see Overwatch without chain stuns. So much of the game about Overwatch 1 with 6v6 is because you can pick chain stuns. Like it matters so much to me. Like... You're not going to have Sigma Hog. You pick one stun. And tanks have most of the stuns, and there's one of them in 5v5. So anyway, I think we're raising a lot of good points. I'm just saying, like, we got to look into what... I think we need to abandon the logic of Overwatch 1 now. Like these arguments, they kind of spin out for
Why?
me.
We're still in for another year and a half.
No, we're not. What do you mean?
And the thing is, too, I'm telling you right now, I have been on the money for this for 3 years. She will still be dominant in Overwatch 2 until they change the way she heals. She can heal Anna's what per second? Like 70 or something?
They're healing across the board.
In
they did. That's right.
which
That's
they're not
right.
keeping. But I'm saying, yes, I hear you. But like, we don't. They haven't finished the game yet, so you can't say
Okay.
anything.
Well, I'm saying,
in the
all
game.
I'm saying is like, if it comes out the way it does right now, it's still going to be a problem. That's all. That's my only point. But regardless, yeah, I don't even know where we
You
started
haven't
with
seen
this.
the new heroes
Yeah.
yet. Like, anyway,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. If they're more broken than that,
Well-
you know what? I'm tipping the hat. GG's.
We don't know what the meta of a 5v5 is going to bias towards. At the moment, we understand getting well, maybe it would be Mercy if like you can't close the distance anywhere and you can poke forever and you don't have protection. Like, why would you need Brig if it's just a shooter game? Let's just imagine Overwatch with 0 tanks. You don't engage ever. Why would you pick Brig when you could just poke? Okay, we're playing Valorant now.
It's self-sustained.
Right?
Yeah, he is
I
right
have
though.
Mercy.
Look at the.
I have Mercy. You have a shield. Great. I'll poke you with damage.
But
If the
you're
game's
not.
more about
Your
poke
thing
and
isn't
range,
about engaging. You're not engaging though. You're
Well, no,
playing.
he is kind of right though, because look at the Zarya Hog meta, where it was like full poke. That's when Brig won't be played. It'll just be Mercy's Zen.
too much damage.
Apparently,
There's nothing to get inspired on.
do you? This is gonna be an unending rabbit hole. But one more question. Are you assuming that one change to supports where if you get shot, you receive 25% less healing?
That was just a placeholder, though.
There will be something. They're addressing healing rates. Is the point? They're toying
the healing
with
rates
it.
are not
Also-
the problem. It's AoE healing is the problem.
Yeah, but also remember, guys, the other thing I want to add, I think Freedo's kind of alluding to this as well, is remember that we've had literal entire meta shifts in the way the game's been played by the introduction of one hero. We're getting 5. So the point that Freedo's making is like,
oh yeah,
we don't even know. Like yes, we can speculate based off now. We can what we're trying to do is extrapolate. We have like this little bit of information, and we're trying to extrapolate for the other half that's in the dark. But literally 5 new heroes could all be the 5 meta heroes, and we wouldn't even fucking know because they're so broken on release, right? We wouldn't. They would be so broken.
That would follow precedent.
Yeah, right. Because they probably will be a little bit broken. So it might just change the game so radically that none of this even matters anymore. That we're playing the game in such a way that none of it even matters. And not that this makes it any more correct what you're saying, but
How do we get to this point, by the way?
I don't know. It's just like a trigger word. We hear Brig and we go.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead, Freedo. You had another point you said.
Here's my trump card for you, Sam. This is what happens when you nerf Widowmaker. Because if Widowmaker's not dominant, well, then the closer range game comes in a little bit. Like, Widowmaker's tough to pick. I don't know how you feel about top 500, but everywhere else, she's like really high risk, high reward. Maybe balanced, maybe where she should be. I think Widowmaker's fine. But what I'm saying is, if the game then comes in a bit, well, then you lose that. I kind of said this earlier, like we're playing Valorant, right? 0 tanks, like that's what a Widowmaker dominant meta almost feels like. And we don't want that necessarily. This is why we need a draft, is my point. It's like either the game is more distance and we're sniping, or we come in a little bit and we were fighting Inspire. It's like, you got to pick one. Like if we have open pick and everything's on the table, it's either this is OP or this is OP. Is this a good visual? Does this make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Like the range of the game and the angles and the spots of the maps that are actually good or useful. It's like, I don't find Widowmaker a problem, but if the way to beat Brig as she is designed now is to outpoke her, is what I'm saying. And I don't know what that's going to look like in 5v5 when you can't protect her with another tank. So that's my argument there. Do we have more things we wanted to discuss? I think we were trying to get like comments from the chat or something.
From chat, yeah.
I do have to roll here in a minute.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I've taken too much of your guys' time already. Like a lot of there were some ideas in chat, but I do have to say a lot of the chat ideas were kind of, remember that we can't really get more resources. So, we had ideas about clans, about radical new changes, like drop one hero, drop a map. But again, we're kind of got to run off the assumption. We got to run off the assumption that none of that is coming. These are just have to be like tweaks or just little changes here or there that would, or a radical idea like just drop 5v5 now that Freedo suggested earlier. But anyways, guys, I think that's it. Did any of you have any sort of concluding thoughts, anything that you didn't get to say? Sam, you go first. Just anything you want to add?
First of all, thanks for having us. It's SVB, you do a great job as always. And Blizzard, if someone does end up seeing this, just know that we bat for the home team. We always have, we always will. And we love this game. And regardless of what happens, thank you for 5 years of my life. Thank you.
This has been fun. Oh, sorry. I'll just go quick. I went into this call like, I don't really have anything planned. I don't know what I'm to say. We'll talk for like an hour if we need to. Not remembering how emotional we all are about this subject. So it's been a blast to catch up with you guys, and I just hope we have some good answers for the many questions we still have on the table. And well, the ball's in your court, Blizzard. That's all I'll say. I'm looking forward to hear what they have to steer the ship in the right direction.
Flats.
I know someone
Depressed.
is going to see this, so I had to be a little bit, I do know some stuff, I do know some stuff, and I will say it's good, and I'm excited for it, and I think people are going to be really excited for it, but there needs to be more. Like, we're no longer playing, we're playing catch up now, it's a little is nice, but don't do too little too late, because yeah, you want Overwatch 2 to be a massive hit, but unless you solve those problems now, that massive hit isn't going to last very long. It's really not, and we all want the same thing. Nobody's on the want to see it fail side, and if you believe that, then I can't help you, because there's no reason anyone here would want it to fail. So I hope it's realized that we're all on the same side. We just maybe see things differently.
Well, yeah, well, us wanting the game to fail would be like burning the building you work at. It's just like, what would that get me? Like, it would just fuck me as much as anyone else. So, yeah, Flats, are you still streaming, by the way?
Probably.
All right, well, I'm gonna send these guys your way then. I just had to restart it because it was about to time out. So, thank you guys so much for joining me again. If anyone watches from the Blizzard team, Andy, I hope this demonstrates that it is all love, and we do get heated, we do get passionate, we do sometimes, let's say we exaggerate or we use terms that we maybe would have softened in retrospect, but it is all love. It's all about trying to make the game better. So hopefully at least some of this was helpful, some of this was relevant, and it demonstrates the kind of passion that's in the community to see this game thrive again. So hopefully you guys as well watching enjoyed it. It fit the criteria. And again, once again, thanks to Samito, Flats, and Freedo, guys. Check them out. You know them, you love them, they're awesome. Check out their content. Thanks to them for joining me, giving me their time. And that's it from us. See you guys next time. Peace out. Go say hello to Flats.